Well, it's time. Many questions now get to be answered. We get to see the big dogs take on M80. And this one is, I think this is an important game just to kickstart SI. I think that it's important to give context. It's important to see where W7m are at and what their claim for the title is going to be, because that's been the big question ever since Atlanta. What are they going to do when they get to SI?
I mean, when there's no real introduction that needs to be made in terms of W7m. They are by far looking like the best team in the world, regardless of not having that world championship title. But in terms of their placings, I mean, they've just in their entire 2023, they haven't placed outside of third. And they've won the past two majors back to back. I mean, this is a roster, a five-man roster that is phenomenal on all fronts.
W7m is not a team that we're talking about, are they the best in the world or are they not? W7m are the team that we're talking about, are they the best of all time or not? Are they not? This is the stakes we're dealing with W7m. There's no question they are better, at least on paper, than every other team in this event. Will they show up? Will they prove that? Will they play to how they've played at previous events? Well, yet to be seen. But W7m are the heavy favorites coming into this. They will be against M80. They will be against any team they go against.
Absolutely.
Back-to-back major champions has never been done until they did it in Atlanta, and now they're looking to go for the three-time.
Well, that's just it, right? Like, it's never been done until it's been done. And that's the beauty of this.
And it's a story. It's a last dance. This is W7m as the org, their last time being in Rainbow Six after this event. I mean, if they can just run this whole entire 2023 into 2024, ending it on a note of winning SI as well, I mean, that's already history in and itself.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, because they've already tweeted, they've said that the organization and the players are going to be going different directions after this tournament. Players are going to be looking for some other way to play together. We don't know the details, but all in all, I mean, this is kind of the final moment we're going to see these players represented by this org. So it's a big moment. It's kind of make or break for the dynasty, for the legacy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it really is the last dance. It's just the perfect way of framing it. And I don't think that we should frame it in any other light.
No.
But we do have to frame a different team in maybe a different light. M80, where are you sitting with M80 this year?
So as much as, you know, I'm an NA guy, right?
Yeah.
Obviously. But
really? Couldn't tell.
This team specifically, on paper, this team is disgusting.
Yep.
They run the North American League in a dominant fashion. We've seen how strong they are, but in international play, we have not seen that same performance that we've seen in the NAL stage. I mean, just looking into their NAL stage in general, for at least Copenhagen, they placed 12th through 14th, and then in most recently Atlanta, they placed 15th through 16th, and were worse than what they were in Copenhagen. We have to see the M80 that we see in the North American League internationally.
M80, they're getting very loud behind us.
I mean,
I did not hear a single thing that you have said there. I'm sure it was profound.
Yeah, they're getting loud. That's the energy they're going to need coming into this, because their two majors thus far this year have not been up to snuff. They got a single map win in Copenhagen. They got 0 map wins when it came down to Atlanta. So they have struggled. Now, I will say, outside of majors, Gamers 8 was their tournament. They popped off. They beat W7m in the semifinals to make it as far as they did in that tournament. So they have history against this organization. Whilst everybody is going to still consider W7m to be the favorites, M80 have a history of getting the upset against this team.
They do, and there is something to note. They did replace Kino with Yaga. Yaga is a former player that was originally on their roster, or also on the OXG roster back in the days with myself and Kino. So they are bringing someone who does do extremely well. I believe Yaga had the best stats statistically in the NAL stage recently. So him coming back, already having LAN experience, already having SI experience, and to my knowledge, in his SI experiences, he's played extremely well and has always been one of the top players for his teams. So they definitely have another juggernaut on the team. But again, me personally, I don't think this comes down to one player fixing this team. I think it comes down to the team dynamic and the leadership and the coaching staff around it.
Kind of feels like, you know, the conversation of like the weakest link, right? That's where you're always, you can only be as strong as your weakest link. But when you look at the two different teams, W7m versus M80, is there a clear divide? Is there a distinct difference?
Divide.
Yes, of course there's a massive divide, right? I mean, you just have to look at the stats from Atlanta. W7m, the best defensive team in the world, 71%. One of the best attacking teams in the world, 47%. For M80, you're looking at 43 on defense, 32 on attack. That's about half of what we saw from W7m when you're looking just at the raw win rates. And I think the point that Laxi made is important. Yog coming in should be a boost to this team. Yaga had an exceptional stage 2, the highest kill death ratio of any North American player through the entirety of the second stage. That's nothing to laugh at. And of course, he's got that history with this team. He's going to be a great asset to jump on in.
Yep.
But is it enough for W7m? Probably not.
Yeah.
As much as I am NA, I can't go against W7M. I just simply cannot.
Yeah. Well, look, you've got to draw a line in the sand somewhere, and if that's where it's drawn, that's where it's drawn. They're up against the greatest team that we've seen.
They are, and I think it's a great challenge.
Yeah, and I will say, there is something to be said about going up against your toughest opponent first.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the Atlanta Major, the first opponents W7M played were GK.
Yep.
You know what? They lost.
Yeah.
Whether that was because, I think it was both, in part of GK playing that game well, but also because W7M went off to a bit of a slow start. M80 could be trying to replicate that magic. It's a best of 3 now. It was a best of 1 back then. That's a big difference. But I do think that coming in, this is maybe the best chance you have of W7M being a little bit cold, a little bit off their game. The off-season over the winter was long. So there is a world where W7M come in, underestimate, they're a little sleepy. Maybe this is an easier game for M80 than some of the other group opponents will have against W7M.
Yeah. One thing I want to note, I hope the stream could hear that because I stopped specifically for that.
I'm looking at you right now and I see your mouth moving. I have no idea what was said.
It doesn't matter, does it? It's just the beautiful noise of the background. Well, we will go to the map vetoes, probably the more important part of this conversation. Clubhouse is where we kick off on, Jesse.
Yeah, nothing crazy with the Clubhouse pick coming through from M80. Chalet from W7M, I actually think is quite spicy. W7M are a great Chalet pick. It's not a shock that they've picked it, but it is a shock that they picked it against this team. M80 are the only team all season long to have beaten W7M on Chalet. They overall have a 5-1 record this season. So the fact that they decided to pick this, they're almost saying to the world, they're like, listen, one team gave us a blip on this map. We're going to make sure that blip goes away.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, you gotta really be confident in already being W7M. That speaks for itself. But going against Chalet, where a team did beat you in, I mean, it's definitely like you were saying. They see it as like a blip and not really an issue whatsoever. So they're going to go in gung-ho and not even try to get to Skyscraper. The Skyscraper actually surprised me, to be honest. I didn't know if it was going to end on Skyscraper or more of a little simpler default map. So seeing that happen, that being the decider, I mean, if we get there, I am curious to see what M80 is going to bring to that table because M80 wasn't looking super strong on Skyscraper by any means. So I do want to see if we do get to that third map, how that's going to pan out. But I do think in terms of map pool and these 2 maps that are starting, I think it does heavily favor W7M.
I will also say I like the Clubhouse pick coming in quite a bit for M80. That'll be our first map. And I do think that that's the map that W7M looked the weakest on in Atlanta. It's a map they lost twice, both times to GK. It's a map that we did see them look vulnerable on. There's a lot of footage on W7M, assuming they haven't changed much, which maybe they have. But all in all, I do think that for M80, this is a smart pick. It's a map that they definitely should have some intel on. They should feel confident on. The question is, of course, performance on the game day, but I do like that pick from M80.
I'm listening to all the chatter. It's quite entertaining watching these two. You've got nearly polar opposites in M80 making as much noise as humanly possible. When they're in their huddle, all you could hear was some humbug going on. Looked across at the W7M, they're just having a little chuckle to themselves. You know, they're in, they're ready, they know what's going on.
I think they aren't going to let the mental warfare of M80 yelling and screaming at them really going to affect them. They know what they got, they know what they bring to the table. They've already proved many times what they have, so I think if you're a W7M, you aren't worried.
Well, this just has to be routine now, right? Like this just has to click into a different gear, regardless of all the conversation leading up to this. No matter what happens, even in this first game, no matter what happens in this first game, this is business as usual now for this team. The W7M, this is their chance to leave a mark on Rainbow Six that we haven't seen in years.
Yeah, I mean, when you're the best too, everybody's swinging for you, everybody's eager to take you on. I'm sure W7M are used to that. They maybe thrive in that a little bit too. But at the end of the day, I mean, this is the best team in the world with the best players in the world. I'm really excited to see what Herds can do. I don't think there's been a player like Herds in Rainbow Six for a very long time. Yes, maybe Spoit won the Jinxie 1v1 tournament, but I still think Herds is the better player overall, and I think he's going to make a very difficult challenge for M80.
You snuck it in there, didn't you?
He's definitely snuck that.
You just had to. Well, guess what? It is time for us to get underway, and the only people that would be suited to cast the goats are the goats themselves.
That's very heartwarming. You know, I just met him for the first time ever yesterday, despite being in his ecosystem for years. And despite the fact that he's a little bit under the weather, because, you know, it happens. I gotta say, you're doing a fantastic job. The other two on the desk,
they're okay.
Whatever, spare parts, if you want to call them now. M80 versus W7M, the best team in the world, and then a team of 5 Brazilians going up against each other. It's classic misdirect here.
Wow.
Classic misdirect here. W7M have looked absolutely indomitable over the last
Yeah, full calendar year.
11 months?
Yeah.
I mean, technically you could say 12 months if you want to go back to SI last year, but they weren't unstoppable because G2 stopped them.
Yeah, somehow, some way. And this is the thing, like, the Star really is basically the best team to ever do it besides Prime Panther G2 versus M80, who's got everything going for them besides results. You know, they bring in big names like Sport Iconic, they build the roster, they got the finances, they got great media content going, etc. But they have not really achieved anything in this like calendar year in Rainbow Six Siege. Either they get grouped, well, they get grouped every single time, so internationally they flop, but domestically typically placing between first or third place. So we know they can do it, they just can't really seem to do it when it matters the most. Clubhouse, no easy place to go first, but it's the first map of the series. Maverick being banned immediately, so this is gonna ask the question, will Tubaru, will Kaid stay open? What's gonna happen with that wall deny? Ying follows through as well, a classic basement execute operator with those Candelas. And W7m will ban the first defender, and they choose Tubaru. If you're one of the best teams in the world, it would make things, it would make sense to keep things the same, right? Because you excel in the, 3 months ago meta, so why not just force that same meta again by banning the new operator?
Makes sense to me, and honestly, from the match that you and I casted earlier in the day, I didn't really see much that made me think the Tubaru play was incredibly important. But now Bandit is also banned out, so...
I mean, this is a classic, Clubhouse ban scenario. You play around the heart breaching. Way back in the day when, Thatcher and Maverick were the only two reloads to deal with walls, you'd often see one team ban the Thatcher, and the other team was like, should we also ban the Maverick and make a tagging absolutely miserable? And with Tubaru being introduced to Siege, being like another kind of like a mute who can stall out a wall, well, we are now back in this kind of era of Siege where you have to problem solve the heart breach. We haven't seen that for quite some time. Besides, impact triggering, etc. inside the building. So I personally am a big fan of an operator like Tubaru on a map like Clubhouse, where this has been a thing in the past.
Hope you're enjoying the music.
Oh, I am.
I'm vibing here. The Yog Dog returns.
Oh, yeah.
Loaned, as far as we're aware, from OXG.
He played, of course, Stage 2 with OXG, played incredibly well, I think the highest rated player. Then played LCQ with OXG, where things didn't go so well for that team, and Yog himself had a pretty, mediocre performance, so to speak. The whole team kind of, blew up, so to speak. So Yog has it in him, but of course, fitting into a new roster, off the rip with little practice, it's always difficult, despite him, of course, having experience with these players in the past.
With certain commentators in the scene who have referred to M80 as the best hope for North America. I mean, let's be frank, North America's not exactly had the best year when it comes to Rainbow Six Siege.
Oh, no, they haven't.
There have been ebbs and flows with this region. There are times when NA looks terrible, and EU looks so dominant, and then it's Brazil's time to look dominant, NA still looks terrible. Some APAC teams can make a deep run, but that was years ago, and then NA still looks terrible. But at the end of the day, you've got consistent forces here. SQ is currently in action on the other stream playing against the Japanese team of Scars. You and I got to see the other NA team of DZ play earlier on. SSG played earlier today as well, so all the NA teams today, all the NA teams, all the time.
Yeah, in action.
M80 have so many tools at their disposal, Nick. There really isn't anything that they lack individually. Now, you can have all the tools, but not know how to use them. And obviously, every team has those struggles. The team that has struggled the least with that is W7m. That's why they're the high water mark.
Exactly.
But W7m are a team that are very consistent, and you can prep for them, and it still doesn't mean a damn thing. So how is M80 going to approach this? It's been a relatively slow round to start off with. Half of the round is already gone.
Yeah, I do like that. I mean, W7m themselves, they're not going all that quickly. They got the blitz. They could definitely go for a quicker roam clear, but they're taking things one step at a time here, and they've got Spot isolated. He will, of course, drop down, but will get traded in the process. And again, you can talk about W7m. Why are they so good? Even in a spot like that, where they find a roamer, within a second, there's another person to trade. They don't go 0 for 1 and Spot gets away. No, they trade 1 for 1. It's an even outcome for them. It's a massive deal here.
We'll talk about this in the next round because I have a feeling that things are going to get particularly crazy. He's expecting the blitz to push.
Yeah, I love this.
That's why he's done it.
It's just not that common to see, but I'm a fan, I will say. But Blazing and Ballard, no one needs near that area. So you see JV bottom main stairs now, and they're still looking and fishing for a kill.
There's pretty much only one reason why you barricade this, Nick, and what's that?
Because you're afraid of someone walking down the staircase?
Because you're afraid of a rush.
Okay, fair enough.
Teams, especially NA teams, will barricade that off because they're afraid of a rush, and it'll slow you down, but also act as intel. You don't want to barricade, obviously, every single door, but now if you look, who's there? Twitch of JV, and now they know that he's pressuring towards the bomb site. Same with Velopox, who stopped for a second as that goo mine hits his foot. Down goes Herds. Only 10 seconds left. W7m have 3 players to go. Velopox rushing in, and it's over. That's it. M80, ice in their veins. It was just a bit too slow for W7m, and it was a stalwart defense from M80.
Might have been that W7m expected a more aggressive side from the defense there, but that didn't happen. I mean, it was a very laid-back, kind of conservative playstyle from M80, where the only real roamer, only real aggressor in that round was Spoiled, who died trying to get back to the bomb side. The blitz was excellent in theory because they could go quickly, they could get into the building, etc. But that's not really what played out in that particular round. Now, mind you, this is day 1 of the Six Invitationals, the first match of both these teams on LAN, besides, you know, scrimming, etc. So you have to kind of get in gear. Get into that game mindset, feel out the server, etc. Just get comfortable on LAN. It was not a great round for W7m per se, but also a team kill happened actually in the chaos of that previous round. I mean, imagine being Spot, right? You get your 1 kill early on, you sit there for a full minute watching your team, and okay, 4v4, you guys got this. He has no default cams to watch, no camera operators. He had no impact in the round after he died, but at least he got his 1. And now I got Iconic playing Solis with a shotgun primary, of all things. A lot of shotguns today. Hibana, Amaru, Solis now throughout these matches.
I think there's a reason for that.
Shotguns, much like DMRs, they go kind of hard on LAN. They really shred through people. And you can force positions like, for example, Dirt Tunnel on an anti-roam, because who's gonna challenge a shotgun operator in Dirt? You're forcing the close quarter fight.
You know, it's really funny because there was a period of time where if you were bringing any shotgun other than the SAS shotgun, you were kind of trolling.
That's true.
I mean, other than maybe the skeleton key on Buck and then the sidearm on Mira and Jackal. But now you've got Amaru and Echo who can do it. In certain regions, like APAC, for example, you can even run Hibana with that shotgun. So there are options at your disposal. First casualty is Herds. The Jackal down below, who often has a secondary as a shotgun. Runs right into Iconic, playing at this position. Oh, nice read through the wall. And down goes Iconic. Velopox punishing him. Bottom floor control now in the grasps of W7m, while the breach in the CCTV has also been opened. So just because W7m's focus was downstairs does not mean they weren't splitting their focus elsewhere.
No, they certainly did 2 things at once, and again, they get that trade. Not immediately, but again, they don't let Iconic get a kill and get away. So they trade 1 for 1 again, equalizing to a 4v4. And it's a bit puzzling that Hertz died the way he did because he is the Jackal. He was right by Iconic where he could scan the footsteps. But maybe a miscalculation or a missed call from a drone or something like that, we'll never know. Gomez now is the main man in this round, playing the catwalk rafters, keep the barriers to protect him, and a teammate by the main breach, so to speak. But he is pretty much on his own. And now they can only put the grenades. It's up to Nade on the Captains of Fire arrows to clear out that position.
Gotta give some credit here to M80 for how much they're slowing down this match. W7m have no real answer to get in the building, and again, the time is working against them. This round is a bit more of a frenzy than what we saw before, but not in the way that W7m wants. They've only got KZ and Velopox still up. In striking distance of the site, particularly Velopox now.
I mean, planning here is difficult. You want to get a pick if possible. They still got, what, 2 Toxic Babes? That one just went out, so 1 spare, and his C4 as well.
This should be a relatively easy kill for KZ, which will immediately swing things back. Oh boy, he almost gets all 3. A Nitro Cell tossed out to secure the kill. It's good enough, and now it's Spoit, the star player from Europe, imported from M80. A nade goes out. We don't see much of those anymore. Can't cook them. So plenty of time for Spoit to reposition. Now encroaching upon the position of Velopox, who, the biggest Chad, decides to stick to Diffuser. Spoit position inside of Cash. He's got the right idea. The Sledge is going to continue to shoot away. Spoit vaulting on over, looking for the kill, doing some serious damage, getting the kill in the clutch as well. Bodega very happy about that one. M80 off to the races. 2 rounds in a row to start this match.
Very close call. Phenomenal attempt there from Casey to open things up, but it's Sport in the 1v1 who reigns supreme and gets that W. Note that there were no Valkyrie cameras left up for the defending side because W7m, they took care of all 3 of those earlier on. It was a pure 1v1 with no outside intel, and both players sat back waiting for the opponent to make the first move, playing off the in-game sound. But also, Sport had a little bit more HP to work with. The new Philippos relatively low, and of course, that's going to give you a whole lot more confidence. Goes to those pre-fires. If a few of those shots they hit, you're going to either injure your opponent or just outright kill them. But W7m, they're definitely getting quote-unquote outplayed here. They're not expecting what M80 are going to be doing. First round, they were super passive. Only Spot was roaming. Second round, we see Gomez on Carol Grafters just vaulting on over, getting basically 2 kills for his life. Yogg peeking the breach, getting a nasty shot with his M80 from a long range. And I gotta say, Yogg might have been new to this roster, so to speak, coming from OXG, but he's had a phenomenal first 2 rounds, getting both impact value and kills. It's William! Last major actually was in the... I was in the same row as Sport on the plane home, and you know, M80 didn't have the greatest performance and whatnot, and yeah, just sat down and Spot like, yo, like, what's life like for you, you know? Like, Swedish kid now, you know, going to America, playing for NA Orc, etc., and not really doing as good as a team as people thought, and he was pretty chill about it. William, aka Spot, has been a pretty, like, optimistic guy. Pretty good head on his shoulders. Of course, Spot is technically still, like, a young player, but he did win the Berlin Major with the former Rogue, now Koi, Orc/roster. He's got a championship under his belt already in terms of a major. Nothing for W7m though. Back-to-back major champions. Seemingly unstoppable for an entire year. Not the start they wanted, but the breach does get opened up. The Ox impact was not entirely successful. Nor was that one.
I was going to say, I don't think that second one hit at all. No, it did not.
Impacts are tricky.
Well, that was impact tricking. Yeah, that's correct. Very good.
A failed one.
Yes.
Yeah. Snap.
See, it means one thing, but it also means something else.
Yeah, it
I believe we
does.
call that a double entendre. That's French, for those of you that don't speak. Right?
Very fancy.
Herd's getting a good read on the yellow ping. They
Oh.
knew Gomez was positioned inside of that bathroom, and finishing him off means that, for the moment, it's an uncontested first kill for W7m.
It's also the first one of the series, I would argue. Like seeing as like, sure, Iconic got the kill last, but got straight back relatively quickly. Going for the races.
More damage being done now. It's Diaz dropped. Still retrievable. Iconic is coming in to assist. I don't know if they're waiting for an audio call. He's seen the shoulder. Iconic with a pick, but elsewhere. M80 is being pulverized. No time to get Diaz Lucas back up, so instead Iconic will get the pick and reset. Just narrowly avoiding the bees. Now it's Herds.
Ooh.
He was very briefly nearsighted, but manages to get the pick before his sight completely disappears. W7m, get on the board.
And this is the thing, like, sure, W7m, they've lost the first 2 rounds and then a clean 3rd round here, but no matter what, you look at how quickly they trade one another when somebody dies, or whenever they make a play somewhere on the map, there's always someone else following up. We saw it in that round. One person dropped down the office hatch, another person on the breach outside construction, and the second the hatch guy goes down, construction guy swings in. They guarantee a 2 versus 1 gunfight in a dangerous area in case an enemy would be there. Turns out there wasn't, so instead, one guy covers, one guy pushes past the bedroom, they get bomb site control. But the fundamentals of W7m is why they are currently the best team in the world. They have so few gaps in their team play, and they basically don't look like they have any real weaknesses over like a long period of time where you say, okay, they always struggle with flank watching, or they always struggle with breaching open walls. I cannot mention a category like that where I'm thinking, you know what? They could be a lot better here. It's like they are really good at a lot of things, and they are still good at everything else. So even when they're losing rounds, things are going quite well for them. Here, yellow ping intel block below, perfect utility usage. Secondly, let's look at this. Office hash drop, one guy's on the window, one guy's covering construction, free side entry, gets one pick, gets a second pick. That's the round done right there. That's it. It's that simple. And that's because they got everything locked out. They can pretty much say, hey, this area is clear, this area is clear, and this area is clear. You only have to worry about bathroom and maybe gym if you see a person. That's it. Like, the team play makes everything in that round.
It's also a round where, in terms of timing and confidence, that first pick and then taking early control of that exterior by Jacuzzi was huge, really, for the program, some would even say. And of course, it's the tertiary bomb site where things go south for the defenders. And if we know anything about Clubhouse, it's that tertiary site is usually the one that they lose. Now, depending on the team, you approach this map with different tertiary sites.
That's a good point, yeah.
Bar and stage can be a tertiary site for some of these teams. Very normal rotation for M80, and for the fourth round, they'll go back downstairs to Church, the bomb site where they started this map.
I'm not surprised, you know, when you got mirror open especially, you can just like make things very comfortable. You don't necessarily have that many options as to where to put the mirror windows. Typically, you do 2 walls reinforced on Church, mirror window on it, third wall is soft, and of course the blue mirror window leading from third box into blue. But I do believe that they actually opted for a triple Church reinforcement, so they have changed some things around to go for a more passive approach, and the difference is though, W7m much quicker this time around.
Often forget how loud Stokes is, by the way. I don't know if it's bleeding through from the other stream or not, but let me tell you.
There's
I
a
can hear
stream
it.
happening, yeah. There certainly is.
Yeah. Ambi making his pro play debut.
Also true.
I remember when Ambi first started on the scene ages ago.
And he was like 13 or something, like 13, 14.
There was a period of time where when Yaga was like underage and people were talking about him coming to play pro, I was like, I'm not going to be casting Rainbow Six when Yaga becomes a pro, and now, well, here he is, literally on the left side of your screen.
Oh boy.
And I would have said the same thing about Ambi. Like, by the time this kid is 18 and starts to play, there's no way I'm going to be casting this game, right? Well, here we are. And it's still just as fun as it was the first day that I sat down in Poland to do it. Now, we talk about the speed of these rounds, Nick, and this is a Church take. Usually, unless you go for a fast pick and then a fast push, it's going to take until the final 30 or 40 seconds. Both of these Osa shields are in pocket for nade.
Gonna drop with it. That's it. You can need to cover. No blitz, no Monty. This is the way.
No damage being done. Gomez in bad position, cut off by Herds. Down goes Spoyd as well, and answer back for Yaga. Talon shield deployed, Yaga on the board for 3 picks. Sacrificing some of his HP in the process. Diaz taking out nade, and now it's Velopox to drop. Iconic getting in on that. A 3-piece from Yaga, loaned over from OXG.
That's nasty.
That'll lock the Church bomb site for the remainder of this first half. 2 for 2 on this part of the map for M80. It also guarantees that M80 cannot lose this first half, so they've picked up 3 rounds.
It's a good point. And I mean, York is putting in work right now, single-handedly winning that round for his team. And I will say, strategically, I feel like W7m, they had other options in that round. Instead of backing off a little bit, putting down the Osa shield, the Talon shield, and trying to go for a plant, knowing that there might be an impact player on that AK's position, which there was, you could arguably drop with the shield to cover you from the bullets, walk a little bit left to the default plant position, and while yes, you are vulnerable to a C4, that wasn't really the threat. The Mirror, who you would assume is the C4 player, was playing inside a dirt tunnel. You basically have blue control, Smoke is playing third box. It's one of those, okay, maybe Smoke will get it, but look what York is doing. He is so distracted by the push inside of blue that there is no plant deny for the default position. You can also, of course, argue if one gunfight goes a different way and York doesn't get that 3K, W7m would be perfectly fine. But the point is, something could have been a little bit better there from the attack inside. But sometimes all you need is a hero. And right now, they've had 2 of those from M80. One's on Sport, and now one's on York as well. 6 and 2 playing Smoke, and you might be thinking, you know, Smoke plays far back on side, holds boring angles, doesn't get a lot of kills. Well, you'd be wrong. Smoke is a top gunner its entire server so far from both sides. really good stuff from y'all.
Well, this is certainly the start that M80 wanted. This is their map pick, of course, so you want to start off strong, and the expectation is that you will play up to that potential. Though it's not always a given. I mean, if there's a big imbalance between teams, 2-0s will occur. We have seen 2-0s today, so
we have.
Not every single best of 3 has gone the full distance. Nice play by Iconic as Herds walks up the stairs. They thought they had something with Iconic because of Dokubi's logic bombs, but Herds is betrayed by his own gadgetry.
The SMG11s here, they're doing so much work. Both Iconic and Yogg finding one apiece.
I mean, didn't they nerf that thing? Wasn't the argument the SMG11 would be completely useless at this point?
No.
Seems to be doing pretty well so far.
I would have to agree.
Iconic shooting completely blind. It's technically Spoit who gets the pick. Another for Spoit as well. I don't really know what's going on because it looked like Iconic got the first one. Now it's Nade to walk in. Over by Jim. Lots of heavy lifting to be done. Swung on by Iconic. Spoit's not going to get all the kills, but all the kills in that round go to M80. Flawlessly done. 4-1 first half as Iconic speaks his mind to W7m. An impressive start for the North American team.
I mean, if you want to take down W7m in a best of 3, this is how you want to do it. Start off really strong in the first map, get in their head a little bit, make them feel uneasy in the server, and then you go to Chalet, which is where M80 beat them the last time around. So the only teams in the world. Oh, Eric, keep throwing it, keep doing it. Yep, there it is. But yeah, these gunfights are so one-sided, and normally we don't tend to say, oh, W7m, they're outgunned, they're outmatched 1-to-1. We always say they can go up against any team 1-to-1 in terms of raw fracking capabilities. That is not the case right now. They are not hitting their shots.
No, not at all.
And we're in Sao Paulo. What's the excuse here? Jet lag? No. They probably drove here. That's a lie. It's a massive city, but...
Just for perspective, it's one of the biggest cities on the planet. Yep. Something like 4th or 5th or 3rd largest city on the planet. Not just in terms of population, but also just in terms of size. You don't really get a good appreciation for how big Sao Paulo is. When you look up something and you say, oh, that looks cool, how far are we? And then you look it up, it's an hour-and-a-half drive, and there's virtually no traffic. It's just so far from each other.
Yep.
It reminds me a lot of LA. The only big difference there is LA has a lot of traffic, which makes it miserable. Opportunity by Spoit as he goes for the run out in the garage, but Herds is already sunk down, can't be spotted as a CCTV cache breach gets opened up. Cache, not where the bomb site is.
Sell them out!
Just that extension. I gotta say, like, what Spoit is doing right now with that run is a little bit of, like, disrespect, if you will. But it's exactly what you can do when you're up 4-1 in terms of round count. You can take those big gambles where, okay, if Spoit died there, you're playing 4v5. It's not the end of the world. You got a big round lead, but you are keeping your opponent on their toes. Iconic now, next in the line of fire, taking a bunch of damage. Not a great start here for M80, but they got this extension and cache with soft walls, by the way, and the fire will finish off Iconic with 20 health left to his name.
I've actually seen a lot of Capitao today, but I haven't
Tons.
really noticed a lot of direct impact from having the Capitao. Obviously, we've seen diffusers get planted, but the smokes from Capitao aren't necessarily all that important. The fire has been used to dislodge and deny area, and there's the last one that's going to go out from Felipox. Allows Gomez time to get over towards construction. Look out the window. I don't think Spoit is aware of how close these players are to him. But using those Kiva barriers has completely removed any possible rotation. Gomez picking off KZ and Felipox. Spoit still on the top of red. No push that can come in through CCTV. Not just hitting their shots, but also the strategy behind M80 so far in their defenses has been quite good.
Yeah, I mean, they got the setup, they got the fallback, they got 2 shields in the same location right on the bomb side. I mean, and again, Spoit gets out alive. That is vital. They don't know this. JV respecting the possibility of him sticking around, but he's long gone. He's like bottom main stairs right now. And W7m, they're locked outside the bomb side, mostly even outside the building.
Herds will have to vault in at some point. As Nade looks through the jacuzzi breach, but he can't get there. Nade will die without a single kill on the first half. 0-5 is not the scoreline that you want from any of the players on any team, but especially not the most dominant team that we've watched over the last year. JV92 also only has a single kill. KZ, 2 kills. strategy or not, you're engaging in these heads-up gunfights, and you're not winning them. JV finds a second kill in this first half. It's on to Spoit. He'll play around the Kiba barriers, but look at that. Through the deployable shield, M80 will be granted a narrow window. Nice shot from JV through the wall. Pulls out the pistol sidearm, but it's Diaz to jump up and shut him down. I don't know about you, but I did not have M80 winning the first half 5-1 on my bingo card. But things are not going particularly well for W7m at the moment.
No, and it's like, even when things do go in the way of W7m to start things off, there's always that quote-unquote hero play that equalizes or gets M80 back into the lead or advantageous position. In that previous round, you know, W7m, they get a pick onto Iconic with the Capital Fire. Spoit is less than half HP. Gomez then jumps out a window, shoots the Claymore, and gets 2 kills. And all of a sudden, the round gets completely flipped. And you see it right here. Claymore, bang, and he catches it on the repel animation. And Casey was afraid of team killing Felipox, so he didn't shoot instantaneously. I mean, there's a bit of timing into that, of course, but Gomez probably played on that window, listened for a sound cue, and knew the Claymore was there as well. It was beautiful. It seemed very calculated, and there wasn't a whole lot of risk. And well, for one of the first times ever in this year, I will say that it looks like W7m, when they lose a member or two, they're a bit stunned. It's like they need 4 or 5 players to do their execute. At least that's what it appears like as a spectator right now. But we know that's not typically the trend for them. They got backup plan after backup plan. They'll frag it out. They'll do a hero play of their own. They'll get a crazy interkill. They'll find the gap. You name it. But they have lost 1 or 2 members in quick succession, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, what do we do now, boys? Let's just look for a kill. Okay, we lost the gun. Okay, it's over. So very stunned here. Sideswipe, of course, comes through. Now M80 get to attack, and no surprise, they'll also start attacking that basement bomb site. The favorable bomb site by most teams, I would say, in the current meta of things. It has been for a very long time.
No timeout's been burned by W7m either. And I think for good reason. I mean, unless you thought that first half was going to be somehow swung by it, you might as well save it. And if things go bad here, then pull it out for the second half. The issue is that if things go bad here in this round, you pull your timeout staring down map point, in which case you now need to go perfect for the remainder of this second half. You have to question the value of that timeout, right? Because let's say M80 wins here, you're calling your timeout, and the best that you can do is go 5-0. You lose a single round, it's curtains. You go to Chalet on your second map, which should be more favorable for W7m, but...
Yeah, you'd think that. Well, we gotta see some life here.
The hope, obviously, that W7m has is that they win this round. You know, they're like, okay, we've got the favorable side, we'll get it done. Well, we'll see.
They don't opt for the mirror, which is surprising. Usually, if it's available, most teams will pick her up. Instead, the Fenrir. Felipox went to deny certain areas like blue, bottom main stairs, etc. And of course, the good old impact triggeroos happening. A perfect C4. That was quite nice. That they go for the impact trick, Buck then moves up to destroy the soft floor to stop the impact trick. Buck gets met by a C4. And again, those small things, they're like, oh, that's very simple, it's very obvious. No, most teams don't have that kind of coordination pre-planned where it's that clean. Getting that kill, Gomez off the board, now in a favorable position, they can sit back. And they got problems, or sorry, solutions to the problems, right? Plank goes down, 1 C4 from Nade. And he's heart breaching left, 2 impacts from Hertz. Same thing goes with that Ocean Shield. So now they got a problem solved with a man down on a main blue take here, and things start off quite well for them.
There's Diaz on the board, Nade, killing Iconic. Spoits. Still unable to see much more than a foot or 2 in front of his face. The B is working wonders, but a nice crossfire established. It's all up to Spoit now inside of blue, but JV92 perched up on top. Right by the gun rack. AK, as it's often called. And using those Kiba barriers so effectively. It might only be 1 round, but both teams showing why Azami's ban rate is so strong and so high.
Yeah, that's the thing with Tubero being implemented as well. You're in this kind of awkward position where there are basically 4 really heavy meta operators in play right now on defense. Tuberu, Solis, Asami, and Fenrir, and you can only ban one of them yourself. And if the opponent bans one of the other 3, there's still 2 open, and pretty much no matter what team you are right now, you will have to play at least one of those 3 that will be open every single round, because they are so valuable to any bomb site, basically. So it's no surprise to see them being picked, you know, multiple of those in most rounds.
But I don't want it too slow. Like, if we see the guys are free kills, just get them, bro. You know what I mean?
I will say this again, I wish I spoke Portuguese, just to hear what they think. Of course, I
remember a tweet of yours from back in like 2017, 2018, where I can't remember if it was Portuguese or French, but you're getting a lot of hate on Twitter, and you're like, I just wish the people who were smack-talking me spoke my language.
And now I want to speak that.
So I could smack-talk them back.
Oh boy. Yeah, there was a Twitter like hashtag going on back when Brazil first joined the international scene. It was a good time. Yep, got a lot of DMs that day. I was very popular for all the wrong reasons. Now, we don't see a whole lot of Clash these days. It is quite rare. And the thing is, typically when you play on CCTV bomb site, you'll be met with a Capital, just like when M80 themselves were the defending team. So playing the Clash on Catwalk a bit dangerous. The fire goes out, you're gonna get your feet burned to a crisp, but let's see what they can do here. Breach gets open, of course, because Kai gets countered by the Thatcher EMPs. So now it's a question of whether M80 will attack the garage catwalk rafters, where 3 members are currently roaming about, or if they say this is too much to handle, let's go for a construction master bedroom take instead. Those are your 2 options on the attack right now.
This is quite interesting that JV92, who started off cold and has now picked up an impressive tally of kills, is the one who goes on to shield duty. This is something that actually we've talked about with M80 as well. And back on, I think it was the old Astralis squad, when Iconic was having a really bad game, they put him on support. You had obviously Kino playing. He would play so well, and they'd stick him on Monty, which obviously we've talked about to death. I know we joke about it as well, but in all honesty, when you've got somebody who's capable of shooting well, you have to wonder why you're putting them on a shield operator. That said, who's the bad shot on W7 now?
Exactly.
Who are you putting on Monty or Blitz or Clash when you've got these caliber of players?
That's a good point. Right now it's Nate, but of course someone has to play Kaid as well. But yeah, M80, they do think it's too much though to handle. They go master bedroom construction instead. They're gonna try and opt for that plant on the wall from construction in towards the bomb site itself. But the thing is, time is running relatively low. And with Clash being available, you know, you can just walk around, give some intel, zap them down. You can't just plant in the face of Clash, so might be a big trick in this round. It's not a usual scenario that you scrim up practice for.
Oh. Oh, no. Wow. That's a huge, huge oversight.
It is
from
massive.
M80.
Yeah.
They don't see that Herds is down below on stage. The hatch opened up. No hard breach will be done on construction wall. M80 suffering 2 swift blows. First to Diaz Lucas and then to Spoit. W7m are crushing. There's no way to put it.
No, I mean, it's not them crushing M80, it's like them making massive mistakes here. It is not okay to not even check or drone out bar when you've got control of the rest of the map.
Iconic with a single kill, largely impactless. Might have gotten a second, but the down doesn't come in at all. Nate actually survives with a sliver of HP. W7m starting to heat up. It is very apparent through the 8 rounds of action that we've seen here on Clubhouse that this is a defender-sided map. Only a single round won by the attackers so far.
That's a tough look. And again, it's not because of Tuberu. That operator is not in play. It is banned out in this matchup by W7m. So it's the same old. Getting comfy on defense. Now, I don't know if you saw Parker, but I joined Jesse's fantasy draft league thing that he did. I have JV on my team. So I would very much like for him to do a little bit better. You know, he's 5 and 6, and if I want to win the fantasy league, then I need him to like step up a little bit here. But pretty much all of the 5 players of W7m, they went in the first round of that fantasy draft league, which is really no surprise. I think actually JV was the most commonly picked from what Jesse told us, so there it is. Him and Casey, of course.
This is a great story.
And thank Jesse for it. He kind of made it a reality, you know?
10 seconds remaining.
He did all the work. We just showed up. And then we had Lynx like on his phone, in his car, with terrible quality, being like, just screaming in his phone, you know?
Attackers are moving out
It was a
to
good
locate
time.
a bomb and defuse
I don't know any of this. I don't know any of this would happen.
Really, you missed all that. It was streamed on his Twitch channel. You don't support Jesse as a fellow colleague?
I was actually talking to Fabian about this earlier today. I genuinely think I've watched less. I mean, obviously, let's exclude the fact that I work on these esports.
Yeah, of course.
Excluding Rainbow Six Esports, I've probably watched less than 10 hours of Twitch in the last year.
You're becoming a boomer.
No, I am so successfully decoupling myself from social media because it rots my brain.
That sounds so much better than being a boomer.
I mean, I'm also becoming a boomer.
But you're also
I mean,
disappointing your entire fan base by not streaming, so you're also disappointing a lot of people. No offense, but you know.
Dozens and dozens of people will be devastated. Okay.
Dozens and dozens.
But no, I didn't watch any of it. Obviously, I support Jesse, of course. And I think the idea behind fantasy is great. I mean, there's a reason why fantasy sports leagues are literally a tradition for people across the world. God, people take off time for work, take time off work in America to do like NFL fantasy leagues. So why not do it for Rainbow Six?
That's a good point. Those impacts, man, they're not hitting their mark today. This time for a different team, though. Gomez got a jacuzzi wall opened up. Of course, that second layer, the bathroom wall, will be opened up shortly after, but that surely will be denied. It's a very, very slow round from M80. They've had some issues in the last one by having oversights. Right now, they're trying to fill in all those gaps, I imagine, but it's costing them a lot of time in this round. So when it's time to go, they really gotta just hit that speed and go as fast as they can. One call from Dokubi left from Iconic, ready on that office hatch. DS Lucas rotating to the main breach. He's done breaching his thermite as well. They're setting up for their initial 3, 2, 1 go countdown, and they're almost ready. Question is, who's gonna lead the charge? Initial kill, very important in this 5v5 to get that man advantage, or if the opposing team can equalize to a 4v4.
Down goes Diaz Lucas. KZ gets the first pick, comes a little bit late into the round. Iconic is gone too. Gomez has managed to find a blind spot and walks right into the site. He knows somebody's on the flank, but it's a crossfire established. Again, the hallmark of this W7M team is how good they are at trading off. Can they trade off Spoit? No! He picks up both kills and will now be circled by Nade over toward Logi. And Nade wins it. Spoit cannot get the job done. 1 round behind M80 now. W7M is streaking.
That was a huge 1v1. If Spoit wins that, he puts his team to map point. And he won it last time against Felly Pox. A close round that shouldn't have gone the distance necessarily, but all of a sudden, I think maybe they can feel the pressure coming because they are not looking good in this round. So they're completely locked out with no foothold anywhere in the map. They drop, they die, they push the staircase, they die. They're on the breach, repelling, holding a very passive angle. They die. Impact grenades run out from strip, just simply took DS Lucas out of the equation way too early in that round. And sure, Spoit gets this 2-for-1 trade, or 2 kills single-handedly rather, but it wasn't enough.
Attackers dropped it.
I saw a shadow. That's not fair. So territory bomb site has been achieved. And they're not gonna go for all 4. They're gonna be boring, boo, and go back downstairs. A stronger bomb site, arguably, one could say. But this time they will bring out the mirror. So the one operator they're missing from last time, that was pretty crucial, or might have been crucial, is the Fenrir. Most of the rest stays the same. Of course, Warden is stable down here. Smoke for some teams is as well for plant deny. But you want to be able to see through those smokes and flashbangs once the bombs execute comes through. But it's not just 5 guys downstairs. There is a bit of roaming presence.
Reload.
1 main stairs, 1 inside the strip. Club just kind of waiting around his hurts. And the thing is, with no Jackal on the board, it can be tricky to figure this out. Most teams don't tend to spend that much time droning the entire map because it takes so much time. And what? Despite the skeleton key point blank, he loses the gunfight. They have nerfed that shotgun a couple times, but that's just bad.
Opening picks so heavily in favor of the defending team. W7M, of course, being the defending team at the moment. You held map control off-site. You killed a minute at a time, and now you get back into the site itself. That's excellent timing.
I feel bad for Gomez. I mean, he had 2 drones, a person in the window. He walks in, red ping, point blank shotgun, and dies. It's one of those, like, he did the right thing, and he got punished for it. I mean, you could just say, you know, hit the head first and you win the gunfight, sure, but I feel for the man right now. I would feel kind of cheated out of that situation if I was him. But life goes on, and so does Philippox with 20 HP. So there's 2 C4s you can do here. One, we see right now, goes into the motor door when you drop down the hatch. If you go to the table on its left-hand side, you can do the same C4 over the wall to bottom main stairs. Both quite lethal C4s in crucial positions. Spoiled bottom main stairs, holding an angle, waiting for movement, but he's been spotted out.
There's the adrenal surge to go on and give some more sustain to this M80 team as they begin their assault, or at least sure look like they might. Spoy throws out that grenade, but backs off. I don't know about you. I don't have a dog in the fight when it comes to these grenade changes, but they certainly don't seem anywhere near as impactful as they used to.
I like that. I like changes because dying to an 8 through the floor wasn't very fun.
That's correct. The bees that were shot out from Yaga in kitchen don't exactly do the job that they wanted to. It looked like he actually missed it. And there were some bees flying inside of the kitchen, which isn't ideal. Last one goes out and they know exactly where he is, but KZ swings them. They're all swinging. M80 look completely lifeless. A flawless round to answer M80's flawless round in the first half. And now we have a tie game. All the momentum goes in favor of the defense. And we head into round 11 with, yes, still only a single round breaking in favor of the attackers.
If you showed me, the second half of this game and just told me it was the first half, I'd believe you. Because then W7m were up 5-0. But because that first weird half of them where they absolutely could not attack for the life of them, it's a tied series 5-5. And things are starting to get really awkward if you're on the attack and end of things because things are just not working out for either team. And here we see it. Bonk. One-shot headshot. Yeah, frustration. I get you. I fully get you there. To make things worse, M80 getting a little bit sloppy. Didn't kill the default cam bottom main staircase. Not that it mattered, because every single defender was actively on the guns, not watching cameras. But just to make a point out of it, they didn't shoot the default cam. And those are small things that should not be happening right now, that are indeed happening from the attacking side.
5 seconds to go.
Unless I'm blind here, no timeouts have been called either.
Nope, they're just going for it. And with how these rounds are being played out, I don't blame them because, especially as a coach, you look at this like, what do you break down? Things go badly, you make a mistake, sure, but if you call your technical timeout now as M80, you're also giving W7m time to breathe and talk to their coaching staff. It's a lose-lose or a win-win.
Attackers dropped the diffuser. Attackers recovered the bomb diffuser.
He's waiting on a call, I think.
I think so, yeah. You can impact trick through this. That's technically why most teams they do it. So now you gotta actively hold the angles, deny those impacts, but there they go.
Not much Spoit could do there other than fall off of that position. Now a daunting task to get this opened up. 3 impact grenades remaining in the hands of W7m. 2 thermite charges for Diaz Lucas. 1 Selma charge remains for Spoit. And 1 of those secondary hard breaches for Yaga. So you've got to use those impacts tastefully, one could say. The breach has been opened up, so I don't know if it was a deliberate decision or not by W7m to withhold those impacts. But you've given a greater avenue into the site now for M80.
I mean, yeah, the breach is open, but it's a vault approach. So, yeah, you're gonna hold the angle, but it's not an injured path necessarily. But it does appear like they want to clear out JV92 on the catwalk rafters. If that is their goal, this round will be won or lost most likely in the garage side of the map. Maybe they're just playing this nice and slow, buying the time, droning out the basement, securing Sport's location. He's gonna hold down lounge for his team. And then 3 members, they wanna work the rafters. Fire goes out, and Diaz Lucas, just like that, clears JV off the catwalk rafters. That is a phenomenal attacking approach. Now, as an attacking team, you got everything you could possibly want. Garage control, main breach, etc. 2 kills to your name, and Sport stays alive as well. All they gotta do is walk up catwalk rafters, and they have to worry about the 2 C4s from Mira and the Kaid. And if they can do that successfully, they can just plant the bomb.
Again, we just see things plodding along, but W7m won a single round on attack. M80 yet to do that, but they are the closest they've been so far this second half, Nick. There's still a lot of utility for W7m. 2 nitro cells, 2 impacts, goo mines. But the guns for M80 are working quite well. A flawless round denied by KZ down below. Searching desperately for where that diffuser is being planted by Diaz Lucas. KZ won't find any success whatsoever, but he's given his position down below away. Spoit the only one dead from M80. He'll watch the drones if they happen to be up. Iconic drops through the hatch in construction and through the kill holes in the bottom of stage. Get the final kill. M80 moves to map point.
Excellent round there from M80. Like everything from beginning to end, I think was pretty much like flawless. They get the main bridge opened up despite being impact checked against. Excellent. They clear out Raptors with just 2 capital fire arrows. No one even takes damage. Excellent. And then they see the bomb site is a 5 versus 2 because that aroma inside a bar. They flush out the bomb site. They run all the way through. They clear out the members. They don't have to worry about the C4s or the verticality or the flank because they push all the way through and it just guarantees them the round. If you try and go for a plant, one C4 goes out, kills your planter. You try again, second C4 goes out, kills another planter. It's 3 versus 3. It's not great. So I love the fact they say, okay, problem solving time. Let's just run in the bomb site and take the kills. Can I request to get the players mic'd up for tactical timeouts?
Yeah, one of the best things about last year's SI was the fact that we got to listen in.
Yeah, I fully agree with that.
And I obviously do not have any technical expertise, but one of the best parts of LAN is hearing the teams get to discuss comms and strategy because we don't get to do that in any of the leagues. Something that would be a really nice feature here in Brazil. I don't know if it's possible.
I mean, I know that teams are gonna say, oh, we know we don't want to give away tactical stuff, etc. But
here's what they think.
Think of the
I don't care what they
the value it brings to the broadcast. You know, think about our feelings, the fans' feelings. But look at this. Yeah, the flood was perfect. Left, right, and center. Yeah, nice boys. So now, M80, they are on match point on Clubhouse of all things, and there it is. The good old bar stage bomb set that has gone through. Well, this is the 3rd iteration that has gone through because it had original state, then Clubhouse the map got like a full rework basically, but then bar got another individual rework to make the bomb set more playable. So arguably, I think statistically correctly, the most changed bomb site of all. I think.
Entirely possible.
I think so.
What a showdown this will be in the final round of regulation. M80 goes out 7-5 over W7m, or we have overtime in front of us. Either way, all 4 bomb sites now showing up.
So this bomb set is quite unique how it plays out because the bomb set itself is arguably quite weak, so you gotta extend around the entirety of the map. You're gonna play top floor for a bit, fall back, stall time, play inside a strip, kitchen, hallway, etc. Because the site itself is super vulnerable to verticality. If the attackers take top floor control, you play a bunch of like intel on site, the Valkyrie cameras, the Maestro Evil Eyes, etc. And you play off the intel and off the clock. It's very important that you buy as much time as possible and shut down those Brava cams.
JV92 gets pick number 1, so bar stage for this brief moment, looking like a genius idea.
Yep.
Still over inside a strip, and also, I think this might be the first observation blocker that you and I have seen so far today.
They're quite rare.
You see them brought when a Jaeger is in play, but Jaeger's pick rate is
not
very low.
Yeah.
JV92 with another nade gunning down Iconic. The timeout that was taken seems to not be working for M80, who can talk during the timeout, whether they call it or W7m calls it. Yaga staring at the breach in the strip club. He and Gomez have so much work to do. They managed to push JV92 off of this position, which is a good start.
So much more to come, and the thing is, it's only gonna get worse because next up is Hertz.
Fire rate on that Roni is really something. It's got the 1.5.
There it is.
Long range. Herds with the final 2 kills. We're going overtime.
One of the downsides to attack a bomb set like bar is that you don't have the most amount of experience. Now, you might think, oh, pro players, pro teams, they know every attack and every variation for every single bomb site. No, they don't really. If you scrim Clubhouse 100 times, you may or may not, depending on who your scrim partners are, only attack bar gaming, or bar stage rather, a handful of those out of 100 times. So maybe 100 rounds, 5 times bar, it's not a whole lot. And then the enemies that you scrim might not play the same that W7m they are, for example, or Brazilia's region are, for example. So it's really hard to master and practice every single aspect, because you can't just tell your opponent, hey, can you play this bomb site for us? We need practice. Because they're gonna go like, yeah, and so what, you know? Fun fact actually, speaking of that, back in like 2018 or 19, we scrimmed Fnatic as Pentair G2 at an international event, and we tried to make bar stage work on the old Clubhouse. We played this custom game where you played like 20 rounds. And we only played bar, so we had like no locked bomb sites. We played bar 10 to 12 rounds in a row against Fnatic to try and figure out a way how to make it defendable. And we lost like 11 out of 12 rounds every time we tried it. It was undefendable. And that's one of the reasons why I got reworked, because it just did not work whatsoever. But we did try that once, actually. Sometimes you can ask your opponent, hey, scrim this with us, please. I miss Fnatic. You know, the APAC team, the OG roster, making every event, beating out someone like EG with a coach stand-in.
What an absolutely unbelievable game. What happened here in Brazil?
Yeah.
It was in Rio.
Yeah, it was in Rio, yeah.
Magnet's appendix ruptured, and Fnatic was unable to field a full 5-player roster. So Dizzle, who was a pro on console, but years prior, ended up playing, and we got, I would argue, the wildest match of professional Rainbow Six, and not necessarily for good reasons. But it sure was
so chaotic.
And the Brazilian crowd absolutely loved it. And I was there in the crowd, and I absolutely loved it as well.
Good old times. Now, Sports dancing, a bit of a cat and mouse here. But the same thing as the very first round that we witnessed in this matchup, they will fall back. This time Sports stays upright. It's not gonna be a 4v4, but a 5v5 instead. Third tunnel has been taken by JB92, waiting patiently, holding a very small pixel angle. He needs the rest of his team to get inside the building. Get to kitchen, open the soft floor, get those hatches breached open up, and assert their next following steps. Iconic, making a lot of noise here, giving away his position, but he's not gonna swing. Just sitting back, and a certain dominance from afar.
Not a surprise that almost every single round has been as, I don't want to say slow, because it has obviously negative connotations to it, but there are certain maps that necessitate more drone work, more utility work. You have to bring usually more than one hard breach, as you can see on the lineup on the right side of your screen. It's a Thermite, it's a Hibana. Wouldn't be that unusual to also see a potential can opener get brought. But the defenders are just having such a good time.
Yeah, they are.
Both teams went 5-1 on their respective halves on defense. Only 2 of the 12 rounds broke in favor of the attackers. And what a bloody surprise. W7m on attack, early struggles, M80 using the favorable side to their advantage.
Yeah, and JV, I think he lost his patience. He swung way too early. His team was not ready whatsoever. Hibana, 12x Kairos in pocket. They haven't even tried to breach open the church wall. I don't like this for W7m. They gotta flash it, they gotta hop down, they gotta go right now.
Iconic gets crushed by Felipox. KZ on the board. Diaz Lucas trying to put up some serious numbers, but what a mess that is. Good news for M80 is they prevail in their very first defense and are now 1 round away again from potentially putting this one away. On map number 1 is that they get to defend a second time. Win or lose this round, M80 will go on to defense in round number 15. Well, I mean, I guess if they win this round, it's over, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a great kind of situation for W7m to prove that they do have their stuff figured out, because they only won a single attack in the first half, and what a great way to end it by winning this upcoming, well, defense for them, and then have to win that final attack round to make things work in their favor. It will most likely come down to the final round, the 15th. We'll see. Of course, no surprise. We're gonna go back to basement again. Both teams prioritizing that heavily. Get the cuts, yep. So I can see the upper lineup. You guys cannot yet, but I do see, there it is. I see a little blitzy boy here from Iconic. I do love me some blitzy boy. We've seen I would say a rather significant amount of shield play so far from like all teams in the first. We've seen Monty, we've seen Blitz, we've seen Clash.
5 seconds to go.
And we've seen a lot of Clubhouse. I believe Clubhouse is the most played map by a significant point. This is the 5th Clubhouse over all the games so far today. And I missed the Scars game because we were casting here, so I'm not sure they also played over there. But a lot of Clubhouse, yeah.
I'm trying to remember what map they were playing on when we walked over. I can't quite recall. Excellent start, by the way, for the attacking team, which happens to be M80. They get on the board first. M80 did look quite bad on attack. So the fact that they were able to get a single pick is excellent. For the record, neither of these teams looked great on attack, and that's something that we need to specify here. But I will give credit to not necessarily M80's attack, but more so to W7m's defense, which was very impressive. They weren't really as all over the place as they tend to be. You know, W7m were the team that arguably popularized the very aggressive, all over the map defense. They played a little bit more static when it comes to Clubhouse. There was a brief bit of aggression there from Hertz, but he's fallen off.
Also, like, worth noting, W7m, I believe, as of last major, is like the best defender-sided team like in the world as per JC stats. So they really are a phenomenal defending side team. That C4 from Nade, it destroys the breaching charge, it tickles Spoit, but that's it. From that bottom main staircase. Now, worth noting, it was Casey who got shut down early in that first blood, who's playing Warden. And you're up against a Blitz who also has smokes and a Capital with those smoke arrows on top of it. So taking down Warden early has a potential massive consequence here for the defense. So I would say if Iconic can make that Blitz work, you can take dirt for free. You can jump down the kitchen hatch. You have so many options here. The question is, what do you want to do if you're Iconic? Well, given the fact he's droning out the third tunnel, that might be where he will go. Yep. There it is, and against the Mira, not the easiest operator to work with here. Yeah, you have a C4, but you're very slow to the movement speed.
Fire ready to go from Capital with a minute left on the board. Never mind, now the smokes go up.
Device is going dark.
Isolate Felipox playing over by Blue. Punching away at the mirror window. Nade and JV92 waiting for them to get in. Iconic pulling out the pistol. Down goes Herds. His position known. Diaz Lucas is not too far off. JV92 by the bomb chassis. Trying to get some licks in. Ultimately succeeding. But Diaz Lucas kills Iconic. How does that happen? I want a replay on that one. We're going to the round 15.
Chaos. I know, I can see the vision there from Iconic, the smoke grenade to cut off, the rotate to enable the plant to go down, but the smoke works both ways. Yeah, you know, they can see the guy who's planting, but you also cannot see them if they push through or advances near the smoke. So they push out in to shut down the plant cover. Diaz hops off the fuser and shoots the first thing he sees moving, which is Iconic, and then Diaz dies shortly after. The pressure is on, the rounds are chaotic, and we will need all 15 rounds. And both teams will call their timeout. First, of course, was M80, and now to finish things off, it will be W7m to talk things through and secure this final W. I would say for a tactical timeout, you probably get a bigger advantage on average by being the attacking team. Because you get to fully customize now a pocket strat, like something like a one-off you would not normally do. You get to talk about as a coaching staff, okay, if they take, you know, these operators for this bomb site, this could be a good weakness of theirs, etc. So you really get to apply your theory and your prep work right now. Whereas in defense, you get to talk about, okay guys, where do you want to go? What is going to work against these guys? So I do feel like slight edge here to the attack, which is W7m. It's a great shot, Diaz, but it was on the wrong player. And that's always the case, I find. The nicest shots, always team kills. Nice shot, nice shot. That's such like wholesome trash talk. Oh, okay, attacker repicks coming in. So thought process here.
Whole lineup blown up.
Yep, I mean, this is the thing, right? You talk about, okay, if they go Jim, we do this. If they go CC, we do this. If they go Bob, we do that. And the Monty pick is a good old El Clasico of CCTV attack. Because you can brute force the catwalk rafters much like a Capital. Just walk up the staircase, annoy the Asami player or my player, whatever, and deal with them. But if you don't want to go for catwalk, Monty works great from master bedroom side as well. Enables the plant because you have the shield for cover, you get smokes, secondary EMPs, and Nate is one of those players that he thrives on the supportive roles. Kite on defense, Monty on attack, etc. This is where he wants to be as an individual, and his team can very much play around that.
We've seen the nades on attack go way down, but that sound of the Gone 6 has been missing for actually quite a while. I don't hear Gone 6s as much anymore.
That's a good point.
This is a small observation, but an excellent piece of utility. We're clearing out some of those harder to reach gadgets. Exothermic charge goes off. Selma's as well. Diaz Lucas eliminating KZ. There goes the buck. Flashbangs now to go in. Diaz Lucas in potential danger zone. They're in the midst of the bomb site for W7m. Felipox can attempt to plant with 1 minute off of the clock. Flashing out. Felipox will indeed start it. Yaga and Spoit, last two left. Spoit on the run out. He won't be able to get to him in time. Felipox gets it, but the Nitro Cell at the last second works. Herds and JV against Spoit. M80 picked this map. They had a good idea of what to do. But even though you know what to do, it doesn't mean you can get it done. And they don't. It's W7m who does it. They rip M80's map away from them at the 11th hour. 8-7 for the defending major champions.
I love seeing Felipox on the thermite, rushing in, getting kill after kill, and wanting more. He's like, I don't want to plan right now. I want to get more kills. And then he just barely gets off that plan before it goes down. Toxic Babe, C4 is flying, shots from everywhere, and it's W7m who gets the dub, but it wasn't easy.
A very, very close match. And honestly, I like that there aren't long faces on M80's side of things. I think you could be rightfully peeved after how heartbreaking that is. But at the end of the day, you gotta keep your head in it. You just gotta prepare for the next, and that's Chalet. W7m will go to their map, up 1-0. They've won it all, except for the Six Invitational. They're already off to a hot start. We'll be back in just a couple minutes with map 2.
Well, if that wasn't a scarily close map for W7M, I don't know what is. That could not have been any closer. M80 pushed them to their limits.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy that M80 came here and came out the gate swinging. I mean, that's not what we were seeing in Atlanta, so I'm glad they used the 3 months. They brought Yogg in, and it looks like an entirely different team. Well, I don't want to say entirely different team, but it looks like the team that we saw throughout the NAL stage.
Yeah, I mean, M80 came out with energy. They came out swinging. They came out willing to take a lot of really aggressive gunfights there on the defense. It worked quite well for them to start racking up those rounds early on, and then we saw W7M, once they swapped the defense, do their own little thing. I think it's fitting that it came down to, can W7M win a single attacking round in the final round of the game, round 15, and they got it done.
They did. Were you worried when we went to, W7M's? I don't know why that tripped me over then. When we went to their defense, did you start to get worried for M80? The ball started rolling for W7M, and you could see in the player camps, M80 started to die down a little.
Yeah, I think yes and no. Yes, because this is M80's map pick. You've got to assume that they are somewhat comfortable on attack, so that 5-1-1/2, you've got to be feeling nervous for W7M. But at the same time, this is an extremely defender-sided map, and I think the bans kind of tell a tale for that.
Sure.
We've talked about how Tubarão has influenced this tournament to be more defender-sided than any other map, and maybe you're thinking, but Tubarão's banned, so this should be a less defender-sided map than what we've seen previously at the tournament. But the thing is, Tubarão is banned, as is Bandit. We have Solus up, Fenrir up, Azami up, Valkyrie up, the 4 power operators that in previous tournaments have been always 1 or 2 banned. All 4 were on the board. Throughout this tournament, they've made up 83% of the defensive bans. Just those 4 plus Tubarão makes 5. And the fact that 4 of them were let through in this game, I think is the reason why we saw so many defensive rounds go successfully.
Well, and the beautiful thing about the defense round, like that you were saying, an interesting key note here is that both teams, their opening kills success rate came from defenses. So obviously W7M went down. All those opening kills were going to M80, and then vice versa, switching back around. Then the opening kills were coming on W7M in those defense rounds. Just goes to show the attacking half was not the strongest side here.
What the scoreboard shows me is that was a slugfest.
Oh,
that's all I gotta say. Like, that was back and forth. Every round that you saw, I mean, you see it very clearly. That picture there just shows a full story of what this game ended up looking like.
I mean, everyone individually on each team stepped up, played where they needed to, got the engagements that they needed to get, won the gunfights they needed to. It just came down to the end and the nitty-gritty of who was going to actually figure out the piece of that puzzle to really close out these rounds and close out the match overall.
I mean, the player that stuck out to me the most on the scoreboard had to be JV92. Because you saw in those attacking rounds, he started really struggling. He was not finding very many kills, ended up really dying a lot in those early rounds, and then he finishes the top performing player for W7M. And I think that's a testament to how good this guy is on the defense. In my opinion, JV92 is the best anchor player in the world. I don't think there's any other person, you put him in a site, they're going to be as consistent as JV92. So huge props to him. Bit of slow start for him, didn't really get to find that scoreboard. He eventually did.
I mean, I do want to touch on Herds as well. I mean, Herds had that huge play being below, killing that thermite. I believe it was round 8, I believe. Round 8. Yeah, he gets that thermite kill, and that completely won them that round. It's little plays like that in Siege that can make or break a round, and that's the beautiful thing about Siege is you can have everything be perfectly successful, but you mess up that one small detail, and the entire round falls apart.
Now, speaking of a whole round falling apart, sometimes it just takes an individual player, Jesse, doesn't it?
Yeah, I really got to give some props to Yaga. I felt like maybe when Kino moved off the team and Yaga came in, he got some of that smoke SMG-11 magic because Yaga was a merchant with that SMG-11. We'll see the clips coming through here. The way he's able to utilize it, I've got 2 separate rounds to show you. The first is round number 2. It's a nasty shot. We didn't catch it on stream, so I wanted to show it again. Note the 3 ping. That's iconic. Giving intel to Yaga, hits a brilliant shot, and then this is round number 4. He's on Bs. He trades his teammate, quickly reloads with the SMG-11. He's got the mirror window. 1, 2, insanity coming through from Yaga. That is not the easiest gun in the game to utilize, but he makes it look so simple. So really impressed by that. I think with him coming on to M80, obviously played for Oxygen for most of this year, felt like they wanted to keep him on similar defensive roles. On OXG Stage 2, he mostly played Azami and Smoke. This game, Azami and Smoke, we saw a lot of that from him, and it looked very, very clean.
I've got to say, it's quite funny coming into this. I'm pretty sure everyone would be thinking that the SMG may not be what it used to be, but
That SMG, as long as it keeps the fire rate and has the bullet count in it, it doesn't matter. As long as you're hitting a headshot, that's all you need.
That's all I was hearing coming into this is people like, oh, the SMG-11, it's dirt now. And I'm like, I don't know. I've watched like 7 plays that tell me otherwise.
That's what people said when ACOG got removed a long time ago. As long as that gun keeps the fire rate and a one-shot headshot stays in the game, that gun is going to forever be a strong gun.
Now, this is just probably a more broader question. And Jesse, I'll go to you on this one. Sure. You can bounce if you want to. But do you think that map in particular is quite indicative of where the meta's at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, I think the meta, as it often does, will shift based on op bans, right? And this is almost going back to like the previous meta because we had Two-Brow banned.
Yeah.
But it's not quite the other meta because typically in a tournament, you'd expect some of those defensive operators to be banned out. I do think we're going to start seeing more of these tournaments go more and more defensive. On a broad meta point, I think something Bibu said that was really interesting earlier on in the show was you expect Two-Brow to come in and maybe you expect things to slow down a little bit, but what it actually causes is teams speed up because they don't want to get to those last 30 seconds and be faced with 3 Zoto canisters. So we're starting to see like things really rotate around. There are those slow rounds where teams do maybe fumble a bit in the early round. They do end up against 3 Zoto canisters and it's just GG's. But I think there's still a lot of variation in what we're seeing on defense. We're still seeing a lot of those aggressive moves coming through when operators like Valkyrie and Solus are on the board. So there's different ways for the defense to win, but it does seem like the defense is often coming away with the dubs.
Yeah, and I think both teams are both beautifully displaying the abuse that they can use from those operators if they aren't being banned, that they can really use that into their play and really showcase it and why teams have banned it in the past and how much or how detrimental it can be to a setup or a take that you're trying to, get in there and, you got the Azami barricades blocking you, like you're saying, like just everything as a whole. It's beautifully done. Both these teams should be proud in terms of that result. I don't think anyone's going into this next game with down on their luck by any means. This was a back and forth. I think it's just going to matter who's going to come out swinging once again.
We know who's going to come out swinging, and to be honest, it's actually both of them.
Yeah,
I'm not even going to lie. Like M80 really took some. I'm going to say some haymakers at the start of that game.
I mean, and I do want to say about W7m too, like they went down. Like it's very rare you see W7m in that situation, but like again, it shows the tenacity that this team has, that they do not give up. They didn't care about the chirping that M80 was doing. They didn't care about the spawn peaks or the aggressive plays that M80 was running at him. They immediately just bounced back. They hit the reset. They knew what they needed to do. And then you just saw them claw right back into it. And then it came down to the last round.
Well, the last round's done. The last map's done. We now move over to Chalet. That's the important part. I'd love to ask you more questions, but unfortunately we don't have time. We're going to go ahead and throw it across to the incredible casters. I think it's Millhouse and Sideshow Bob.
What?
That's actually excellent. No, it means the Bart the from The Simpsons.
You see, I'm too young.
I'm
for
Sideshow
this.
Bob.
I'm too young for this. Simpsons before my time.
He does kind of look like Millhouse, but he has a much deeper voice. That's true. W7m are the defending major champions. Their road to one thing they haven't done, the only thing they haven't done, which is win the Six Invitational, begins in this matchup. They already prevailed on map number 1.
Millhouse? I just googled it. That's an insult, no? Come on, man. Wait, who are you? I'm gonna look up.
My ankles are soaking wet, but my calves are bone dry. Everything's coming up Millhouse.
Who are you again? I'm gonna look you up too.
Sideshow Bob. It's uncanny.
Okay, you're Sideshow Bob for sure.
I mean, you're Millhouse as well. You don't get to say.
No,
you don't get to say.
No.
No.
Oh man.
You don't get to call me Sideshow Bob and not also accept that you are Millhouse. Excellent reference though. Man.
Yeah. I wish I understood it because it was pretty cool.
Go back and rewatch. I think it's on Disney Plus. The first 5, 6, maybe 7 seasons is when the quality starts to drop off of The Simpsons.
Fair.
One of, at the time, the smartest and most sharp shows on television. Excellent show.
Wow.
Obviously, it is a shell of its former self, but if you ever go back and look at the people who used to write for The Simpsons, you'd be stumped. So do that.
Okay.
Go ahead and do it.
I'll do my homework.
Very smart people. Either way, whether you watch it or not, we have a match to talk about. W7m, their road to winning the Six Invitational began today, just like every team. 20 teams, all with relatively even shots of winning. There have been losers today. 7 losers, actually, so far. An 8th team will lose. It'll be W7m or M80. This is obviously W7M's map, so I don't want to talk about them so much. I want to talk about the team who could potentially lose here, M80.
Yeah.
What's the win condition on Chalet for M80? Or win conditions if there's more.
I mean, to simplify this, the win condition is very simple. Do better on attack, right? Winning like a single, or if you're W7M, 2 attacking rounds on Clubhouse is not good enough. That's the bottom line. But for M80, I think just a little bit more consistency, if you will. They have rounds where they are popping off, and they had rounds where they got absolutely demolished. And you'll find that middle ground where things are usually gonna be all right, with the occasional pop-off, like once in a while, like we saw Gomez jumping out construction window, getting a 2K, etc. That's the kind of thing that I love to see from M80. But then like the team kill and the chaos and off smoke in the wrong positions, hate to see those, for example. Now, Chalet and Clubhouse, they play out very differently. Clubhouse being very breach-oriented and plant and execute-oriented. Chalet is a lot more about the early game, the roam clear, the map control, and then you come down to a little bit of like a mini execute. For example, on a bar defense, if you're like at the top floor, you gotta deal with that mezzanine top blue stairs position. That's gonna be a lot of utility. Flashbangs, grenades, destroy a shield, or 1, 2, 3, go for those gunfights. But the rest of the map, it really comes down to moving around it correctly and at the right time. And you said earlier, Parker, that W7m, one of the teams that kind of innovated how you can play this game so aggressively and so coordinated, but they actually, back in their early days, the map they changed the most was Chalet. The current way that we see teams play this map was originally from W7m's playbook, and every other team has since then copied it, made some versions of their own, etc. But these were the founders of this new Chalet, so to speak. So if a team can win out here, it's W7m.
M80 opting to start on attack on Chalet. Not all that ordinary. Not all that unordinary. You and I, in our matchup of DZ versus GK earlier, talked about how, for most teams, they prefer to start on attack on this map. Yeah. It has always been a friendly map for the attackers, just because you're not really boxed out. You look at a map like Clubhouse, there's a lot of ways that you can get inside using hard breach, but the defenders, likewise, can block you out.
Yeah.
On this map, the only real time that you need hard breach to enter is that garage panel. And outside of that, you've got doors, you've got windows, there's lots of soft destruction. The moment that you vault on in, it plays very differently. It's also a map with a lot more openness. So Chalet and Clubhouse, not kindred spirits whatsoever. The attackers are able to maneuver effectively, and then, of course, there's that giant main lobby area that benefits whoever holds on to it. If you have the right tools as attackers to flush the defenders out of that spot, there's a lot of power that you can exhibit onto or all the other sites on the map, including downstairs. And that main lobby seems to be the main focus right now for M80.
Yeah, this is like the first, difficult area as an attacking team. Clearing out Hurts and figuring out this position. Hurts make it look so easy. Swings up, 1 bullet bang, spots down for the count. 4v5 now from M80. But yeah, this is where most teams get stuck. They cannot clear this position, but they do it for a 2-for-1 trade.
W7m holding pretty for now, only losing Herds, but 2 kills and dying, I'll take that. Especially on Castle, who's likely already put down all of his utility. All you're really losing is a UMP. JV92, that was uncharacteristically poor of him to miss those shots.
Unnecessary swing as well. I mean, you got the advantage now, you don't any longer.
15 seconds.
Time is running out very quickly for M80. But numbers are equalized. JV92 is still bleeding out, so technically the advantage is in M80's favor. They secure the kill, but oh my goodness, nade inside the site prevents the diffuser from going down. A 3-piece in the first round, W7m. There's a reason why they are the team who is feared the most by all here. They start off their own map with a round win.
That's gonna sting if you're M80. I mean, first you struggle in that first, difficult position of the shield top blue stairs, and then you take the bomb side with 3 versus 1, and you lose every single engagement. This is the narrative of Chalet, though. It's pretty hard in some areas of the map, and other areas are relatively easy. Like you said, getting into the building, usually not met with much of a contest, but getting to the bomb site, that mid stage, very, very difficult, especially on bar. I think personally from my side, in ranked and competitive, I find bar on Chalet one of the hardest bomb sites to IGL and to attack as an individual player. I feel like it's difficult because that top blue portion, like we just witnessed, comes down to like a raw gunfight or really good utility usage on a very small part of the map where you don't have a lot of ways to work with it. Not a long line of sight necessarily, it's just double door to piano, that's really it.
10 seconds left.
And things will stay this way. W7m, they will keep reshaping the bomb site, reshaping the map, whether it's mirror or castle or just a bunch of different shotgun tools, a mirror window, etc. They will bring it because the way that Chalet is built by default is not necessarily ideal. Break a wall over here, put down a mirror window there, castle up this double door to the hallway, and all of a sudden you have a fortress of a bomb site. And you will see here that W7m are not necessarily doing like the conventional setups. These are pretty artistic, so to speak. They're castling up doors that we don't tend to see very often. Mirror windows, yeah, relatively standard, but those castle barricades in the shield positions, that's something you don't see every day.
I think it's the same map that we saw Zofia. Oh no, it was Night Haven Labs that we saw the Zofia on.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a single around.
But there's been a big meta shift since the last time we saw a competitive Siege. The frag grenade changes are humongous. That might be the single biggest change, but also Tomorrow coming in has slowed down this game, and there's been some talk amongst pros and other teams that we are not necessarily back in that 20-second meta, but we are potentially on the precipice of diving into it. I will say this, with the exception of the Clubhouse match that you and I just casted, the attacking team has been pretty okay when it comes to speed. So
yeah,
I don't know if we can say, oh, it's really slowed things down. There's been a lot of unpredictability, and so far through day one, teams have taken chances by getting aggressive early, and it's worked out.
Yeah, I would say it's more a matter of like, if you wanted to as a team, you now have more tools to slow the game down. For example, Tuberu, Goyo, Smoke, etc. if you wanted to. But teams like Casey right now will also take the occasional swing on the windows and take those risks. This time though, it's not rewarded, it is punished as 2 members fall before Hurt straight back onto Spoid.
Good spot to be in if you're M80 right now, but presume that there are still some Yokais up for Nade as he sits on that mirror window. And there you go. The Yokais are indeed still in play.
They got need, they got top floor control, they got intel on side. If Yogg, who has diffuser by the way, so Yogg, this is problematic. Yogg is a top floor watcher, but also diffuser carrier. So he has to either leave the top floor entirely and give that up, or they can't plant the diffuser. Found the Yokai though. Still one in pocket, or actually pre-placed already, should I say.
M80 seems to think one player might lurk down below. Iconic picking off Nade. Another as well, but it's Gomez who seems to get the pick. No, it's another player entirely. Herd's left all alone with his toys upstairs.
Device ready.
He's not going to be able to do too much here. Diffuser going down. M80. 30 seconds left to just hang on and keep this close. Iconic wants the fight. He takes it. He wins it. M80 answers back.
I usually love the vertical play from teams, but it was a little bit too simplistic from W7m. It's okay, we have Yokai drone, they're not gonna find it right. We're just gonna figure out where they plant, yellow ping them, shoot them to the floor. Okay, Yokai drones dies immediately after, and all 3 defenders are upstairs. What now? What then? And they made it again, good problem solving. They planted in the corner of the room. Iconic holds the angle, the only side in the floor that was broken, and they get a kill from it. 1-1. It's tied up, but it's early days here for Chalet. A lot can change.
Hit it with Master. It's not very good. Yeah, it's Master with the Maestro here.
We get small little listen-ins in between the rounds, so.
A little bit here, a little bit there. Heard a Maestro being mentioned.
Yeah, I was gonna say, always nice to just sit and listen to the team speak. W7m have really not been doing a lot of talking at all in this matchup. I don't know if you've noticed that.
I would say like during the pre-game, like when teams are getting ready, they were definitely loud, like their chants, etc. But since the game started, even when they won on Clubhouse, like not a lot really happened from their side, verbally speaking. Even when the team kill happened, they're like, "Oh, nice shot, nice shot." It's like it's not really all that. But again, you know, you let your performance do the talking, I suppose. Maestro is indeed picked up by Nate. That supported play we spoke of earlier. The Maestro, the Kaid, the Monty, Castle, of course, the staple. Frost not being seen in action from JB92. Just gonna limit those jump in from the attack inside, and also gives you a bit of intel. If you're somebody to shoot like 3, 4, 5 bullets, they probably jumped in a window and shot that Frost mat. It's good to have. I love this Maestro. We saw it earlier as well from DC, I believe, where they used it to deny the wall breach. And same thing here. In Solarium, there's an Evil Eye. If you try and open up the Solarium wall from the rappel, you can Evil Eye sap them off instead. No risk needed, no impacts needed either. It's very safe and risk-free.
Already a round, or already a minute gone into the round. The Chalet doesn't seem to have that same breakneck pace that we've seen from this map before. Could be unfamiliarity that the attacking team of M80 has, and Gomez dying early to JB92 might show us that that's correct. Could also be thoroughness. M80 is relatively thorough.
Oh yeah.
But they can also be very quick and aggressive, so it just leaves us to speculate right now. Exothermic charge goes off, and there's utility tossed out.
Reloaded.
The Kairos picked off of the wall.
This reminds me of Cafe. It is hell in a cell. Look, you're in library across the map. And you're fighting like this. Hello? Against shields, softballs opened up, long lines of sight, and then Eel Eyes deny any wall breach so that they don't even get to risk their positions to deny the breach. It's perfect. Again, innovation, so to speak, at its finest. Small micro changes that hard counter your opponent. M80, they are completely locked out of this round. They have no way in this bomb site. It's beautiful.
Nice kill from Diaz to try to keep the numbers as close as is humanly possible, but he's got so much to do as it's him in a 1v4. 1 minute since the first kill came in, and that's all it takes. Looked like half of M80 couldn't even get into the building. W7m as dominant as ever.
I mean, that's just tough. If you're tagging that, I'm saying you gotta go for Trophy Solaria, because I'm not dealing with that. Whatever that is, no. That is no fun, no bueno. That is difficult. Like, usually attackers, what they'll do is they'll get into the first initial, part of the map, library in this case, that's their foothold. They're gonna be safe in there, they drone a bar, no C4s below, they can relax, they can drone, they can breach, etc. Then they go for that bomb site plant, for example. But the way W7m do it is the second they go into library, they have to fight every single second of the round. Nowhere is safe to drone. They gotta worry about the flanks from C4s below still, and they don't have anywhere else on the map in their control. Fireplace wasn't the attackers, library was barely even the attackers, and they didn't have blue stairs either.
This is such an early timeout, Nick.
It is.
3 rounds in, you're already calling the timeout. So, going back to something I said in the previous round was, they can be a thorough team, but is there sluggishness because of their own strategy? Or is there sluggishness because they're not comfortable with either the map or the way that W7m are playing? And I would say probably both.
Yeah.
You're not calling a timeout 3 rounds in unless you see something or somebody on your team sees something that you were deeply unhappy about.
Yeah, so I heard a little bit from Bodega there, and he seemed a little bit frustrated about the fact that it seemed like the team was like losing to things that they already knew from like prep work. He said they will keep doing these same kinds of things, stop falling forward, something along those lines. And it's true, like the defensive setups that we've seen from W7m, they are very like, when you think of W7m, that's exactly what they would do usually. So it shouldn't be a surprise for M80. Of course, it's hard to deal with. Problem solving it, very difficult, but they shouldn't lose where they have been. Like, oh my god, what are they doing? Surprise factor. I've never seen this before in my life. You have seen it, just not that often. So the prep work here from Bodega being like, guys, you know what they're gonna do. Like, we prepped this. Wake up kind of scenario. And maybe a more like methodical approach here. More soft breach, more util, get that IQ to deny the intel as well, because W7m, like most teams, they love making conscious decisions based off solid intel. That's what Valkyrie gives you, that's what Maestro gives you. So now, if you're Gomez, get that scanner out, figure out where those pieces of like intels they are, shut them down, or avoid those areas at all costs. There it is.
Immediately, we're seeing changes come out. Valkyrie's been banned a lot, but we also haven't really been seeing a lot of Valkyrie play across the board.
I mean, with so many good defenders, it's kind of hard to fit her in the lineup these days, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
The good benefit, though, is that if you bring out the Valkyrie, you kind of start forcing out the IQ, and IQ in attack is not that good besides countering Valkyrie specifically, or Echo, for example. So kind of a low-value pick, if you will.
I mean, you talked about this in the previous map. There are so many good defenders right now. You kind of have to pick your poison with operator bans and who you're going to run up against, right? You don't ban Wamai, you don't ban Valkyrie, you don't ban Azami, you're going to see them usually quite often. Solus is going to show up, Tubaro could show up. You're going to have some kind of denial. There's going to be a Mute, a Bandit, or a Kaid, or maybe two of those present at all times. You've really got your pick of the litter when it comes to playing on defense. The attackers are strapped in quite a lot, but the one benefit they do have is attacker repick. They can gain information on which defenders are present.
Yeah.
You can then customize your lineup, even if your lineup does look similar to what we tend to see quite frequently.
Also, why Solus is a good ban, because now you can use your drones in that drone phase, but the blind side here, the flank is left open somehow. Hello? Nobody home? It's not supposed to happen like this. Come on.
2 picks from W7m.
Oh, what?
Oh my. Suddenly, everybody is dead. Half of the server dies in the blink of an eye. The advantage for W7m continues to grow. Diaz Lucas trying, but ultimately in vain. And I think Herd's just tilted his monitor over to say, hey, take a look. Why don't you play off of both of these pieces of information? 3-1 for W7m.
I always see the replay there of Gomez's, shotguns. I think it was like a snap, one tap, and then fade away. It was beautiful. But what a messy, messy round. I mean, Philippok's flanks with like 60 seconds left on the clock and no one's watching the cameras. And I know North America in the past, especially like Thinking Nate, for example, being like, okay, there's a dedicated flank watch role in North America, which never really happened or existed much in Europe or Brazil necessarily, and that role is kind of gone these days with the meta changes. But someone, regardless of who has the role, has to watch those flank cameras. If there aren't any, a gun will do. If you do have cameras for 3 players, which there are 4 left alive, we can see top left-hand side from M80, someone should be covering that. We have 2 members in the piano hallway of Ivy. There is no reason that both members look in the same direction and the flank is left open. He is pointing and explaining with his finger. That's perfect. That is not cheating, by the way, in case you're curious on how LAN works. That is allowed. It is a different environment to play on LAN. Just like technically speaking, if you, back when you could cook a grenade, you could look at the floor, cook the grenade. If the crowd starts cheering, for example, you're probably gonna have to want to cook that longer and throw it. Whereas the crowd is completely dead silent, odds are no one is where you're aiming that grenade. Small tricks like that are completely allowed on LAN, and players across all games, they will take advantage and adapt their playstyle in some ways to those changes. Yeah, I mean...
No reinforcements allowed anymore. Shoot them all. Breach opened up and... Oh, I mean... Nade pulling out the sidearm. All right.
Thorn, shotgun, shield, middle of the bomb side. Thorns, default plans. I mean, this is just W7m covering all their bases.
Did you see the Razor Bloom on top of the Goyo canister as well?
Yep.
You're not surviving that at all. First Thorn that we've seen so far in this matchup. Fuse as well on the board, but it will be an experiment, not for that long. This Fuse is removed in the first minute, as the Wamai goes as well. Both of these teams suffering blows.
The way in here for the attacking side seems kind of difficult, but they're slowly forcing back towards the bomb side. It's just, well, he's dead as well. JV was left standing on their own, but he too will fall. So you trade a Guya and Wamai, mostly passive utility, besides those discs, of course, in Wamai, versus the active gadget of Fuse. No buck, no sledge, so the bomb site itself, vertically speaking, will be relatively safe here. I don't think this 3v4 is too bad for W7m, especially considering that they got keeper barriers, a good LMG on Maestro with 3 evil eyes, and this shotgun on Nade on the blue staircase can most likely just completely lock the attackers out of that portion of the map. We got plant deny, etc. So now for me, the problem-solving time, where do they want to go and how do they want to do it? They have 1 exothermic charge, 2 Hibana pellets, smokes and flashbangs, and even EMPs if they need it. So they got all the tools of the job. The question now is, IGLing-wise, leadership-wise, what is the plan?
Well, time's running out if you're M80.
Yeah. Mostly towards the backside now. One guy on the flank on lobby hatch.
Herds, as well as Felipox, back to back. That's a bad position for Felipox to wander on over. Herds missing the opportunity at the start. He'll die. No, he tries. When he fails, he hoped that Nade would have something over towards that wine door. And man, what a messy finish that was. A second round on the board now for M80.
They need that. I mean, Chalet attack, typically the favorite side, but I really don't want to sit any longer because defense is so strong at the Six Invitationals so far in day number 1. 3-3-half, excellent for both sides, of course, though. So now we get that final attempt. Will W7m take the lead 4-2? Will M80 equalize? Or what will be their final attack, at least for now? Hasn't been looking too bad, though. Mid-run adaptation. A little bit lagged, a little bit slow, but the early game, quick to the punch, and late game, they can get the job done on this side, execute sometimes.
It's in the middle of Ivy. It's literally in the middle of Ivy.
So 6 pick coming in there. Glaz was hovered, but for a second.
Saw Glass earlier today.
We did.
Big Glass enjoyer.
I am Doc shows up in the hands of JV92.
Seconds left.
You have immediate thoughts.
I mean, whenever someone picks, I mean, this is like the 92 Dream Team throwback, you know? The Doc promotion, like this is gonna be, JV wants to get active here.
Herds should be promoted to Doc, though, not JV92.
Yeah, he's a top gunner, you're right. But who doesn't want to play Asami, Parker? Come on. Asami is like the queen on defense here.
True. You're absolutely right.
The key barriers might be the biggest change to Siege since like mirror windows of out cameras in so many aspects at least. It's pretty wild.
They seem to be a little surprised by the repel of Yaga, but Spoit figures it out. Already inside a mudroom. Oh, and he sees that balloon-sized head of Jaeger. Tries to do some damage to Nade, doesn't pull it off. Instead, Spoit has to burn an adrenal surge immediately in response to that duel. The rest of his team will be above full HP. For Spoit, it doesn't even come really back to full HP. Still 90 HP, give or take.
There's like a classic like phantom pressure round from M80. They open up every window, every door, and they're rotating around and keeping W7m guessing as to what exactly is going on. And the thing is, no one from defense is checking the cameras right now, so they're only working off what they can see with their player point of view. So the lack of intel here is kind of crucial for defense, but they got their staple 2 areas. The bomb side and like top library, top blue stairs. So that's what they care about the most. It's like the shields are, the keeper barriers, the Jaeger ADSs, etc. And it's no surprise that, well, M80, they will come and meet them from master bedroom like last time.
KZ greets Yaga goodbye to the Thatcher. No secondary EMPs beyond. Let me say that. 2 for Iconic.
Attackers recovered the bomb diffuser.
But I don't know if hard breach is the play here because there's no bona fide hard breacher.
Yeah.
So you're using those EMPs to disable gadgetry, not to gain you access into a certain part of the site. Herds, as I said, was the one who should be promoted to Doc. He's playing Azami. Kill onto trophy window. Or top of library stairs window, rather. Spoit the very first pick for M80. Down goes Felipox. Spoit falls almost immediately after that at the hands of KZ. Chimney was held by W7m, but has now been freed up by Iconic, who wants to assert himself over towards the library. Diaz Lucas has his teammates back. Will pick up Iconic. And because of that, it will be even numbers. There's a Doc on the board. JV92 will get Nade back to full HP, and 2 Stim Pistols still remain for JV92. There's a Rotero drone to go, and, well, both players from M80 will drop, and ultimately, an anticlimactic end. As W7m takes the first half 4-2.
That's what I mean, like, attacking top blue is so difficult. Like, the mental toll on a player in that round alone it's gonna age you really quickly because you're met with so many problems, utility-wise, crossfires, long lines of sight. Oh, they might be flanking us, etc. as well. There are so many things you have to account for and make so many small, correct calculations and decisions in the moment. And ultimately, it comes down to winning your gunfights as well. Because M80, they do gain control over the top floor, but it comes at a massive price. They lose one buddy, two buddies, almost a third, and one person gets injured later on. It's messy. And then it goes down to like a 2v2 or a 3v3 like in this round as well. And defenders are still heavily favored. Because what can you do? Either you drop one of the two side hatches, which we saw, not ideal, you die mid-air, or you walk down either fireplace staircase or blue staircase, which also is not ideal. So roam clearing is hard, the mid-round execute is difficult, and the late-round bomb site 2v2, 3v3 scenario is heavily against you as well. Everything's just working against you in that round, it is difficult. Now, W7m, they will start things off in a very different kind of way because they're showing us Blitz, Dokkaebi, Thermite, Thatcher, Ace. This setup is great for every single bomb set attack, but especially the basement where Blitz can shine. Get on in quickly, establish a plant, or isolate a roamer if you find somebody somewhere else on the map if you do the drone work first. So the first question is, roam clear or not roam clear? Well, right now some pressure is applied upstairs by JV92 on the Dokkaebi, just opening up some windows. While that's happening, Nade on Ace open up the main breach on the primary wall. Iconic team kills Yaga somewhere on the map.
He's smiling and laughing. Was Iconic not team killed back in map number 1?
Yeah, he was.
A bit of retribution, I suppose.
I suppose, but I mean, Yogdog he's the new guy here. He's 1-5 right now, having a tough map, and to be honest, so is most of M80, and this is where the Blitz will shine. Just rush on in.
Felipox charging on in. Top floor controls, not theirs, but it doesn't matter. Diffuser is also in the midst of the bomb site. Spoit will retake from main stairs. Wasn't much a nade left, but he's as good as gone. 2 in a row from W7m. All smiles on the face of Iconic, which you wouldn't know that M80 is getting blown out of the water on W7m's map. 5-2 for the defending champs.
I think you just don't count that round if you're media, right? That round did not happen. It did not exist because everything went wrong. You lose a member early, another team kill, etc. But I want to talk about the efficiency of W7m, which also can be correlated to the fact that M80 didn't make anything difficult for them. They had JV, like solo roam clearing, applying pressure as Dokkaebi. Then they had the Ace opening up the primary beach outside, and then they had... He flicked off sound, I assume, there. Then you had Casey and Felipox and Hertz hit the back of the bomb site at the same time. Yeah, I said it's my bad. So they were doing 3 different things at once. Semi-roam clear pressure, main beach open, backside bomb set rush. They didn't even check dining kitchen out if it was open or closed because they had the blitz. They just rush on in. They can lose a body, and the second blitz went in, he got shot from the hatch. Nate walks in behind him, shoots the guy on the hatch. It's very simple, clean siege. But what I mean is, M80 could do more as well. They could play the Tubaru, they could play a Mute, they could play a Kaid, they could play a Bandit. They can slow things down and put up problems in W7m's way. But in that previous round, there was no util to stop them. There are just 5 guns walking around. Whereas if you go back and watch W7m defending, they had all the deployable shields, the Thorn gadget, the Goyo canisters, the long lines of sight, the dynamic setups, etc. It's a very different ballgame here between Team A and Team B.
Entirely correct. Spoit gets first blood, though. Drawing it from Herds, who's been statistically the best player so far from W7m. Rough to lose your Nomad early on. That's a flank watch that will now need to be done manually. Or maybe you use the gridlock, or maybe you use the zero. I suppose not all hope is lost entirely.
I do think zero is a bit underrated, to be honest. It's like, you have so much util, it's like 4 cameras, you can sap something, etc. You know, deny a wall deny. It sounds so awkward to say deny wall deny. Destroy wall deny. You see it here. In case there was a jammer or a Kaiklaw, it would be dealt with. And now that there isn't, they still have the intel from the zero cam, the Argus camera, to see where the players might be inside of office or flank cam later on in the round. So it's good stuff here. No IQ though. This Valcam grants them incredible amount.
I was going to say this is so valuable for M80. Especially since from where Iconic is sitting, the only real way he can be pressured is either from somebody dropping Trophy and killing him from that position or from above. He's pretty much safe everywhere else. Now, he's been down, so I'm curious as to where it came from. Felipox engaging above. It was an advantage for M80, but that has evaporated as we've gone back to a 3v3. Stack up right now from W7m. Lobby facing north.
They still got the intel, so they know exactly the whereabouts of all the attacking players. They sprint in and say, hey, swing right now. Yellow ping comes out, they act upon it immediately.
Attackers have
It's gonna make it hard now. One member above, one member below. The attackers are separated and split, and defenders still have all that live intel. Gonna try and plant. They know they can't. The red ping comes out as well. This is pretty tough situation.
It's a hell of a time to pull out the Arcus launcher, that's for sure. M80 gifted a relatively easy kill into Felipox. Now it's JV92 playing on top of the bomb site, or at least close to. He sees the Azami as Spoit, but man, that SMG-12 just goes to the moon the moment that you shoot it. DMR out and chunking away, but it's the Deagle in hand for Spoit. No match for the DMR. A drop will come in.
10 seconds.
Is M80 watching? JV92 is able to get in. Long range, it's Diaz Lucas to keep M80 in it. Series point denied by that kill, and M80 will soldier on.
I'm curious if they realize that the Valkyrie was a problem, because the red pings did come out eventually, and this is the thing, like one of the mind games you can kind of play in Siege is, you know, the Kite versus Thatcher, the Bandit versus any wall denier, or any wall breacher rather, and then IQ and Valkyrie. If you play Valkyrie on defense and the enemy knows it's a problem, you have to consider going IQ. But IQ is bad for everything else but Valkyrie, basically. So it's not a very high value pick overall. But if you struggle with getting pinged and, you know, enemy having intel on you, you might just simply need it. So let's see if W7m deem that is a problem or not. Or, of course, if you do a good job droning in the prep phase, you can see all 5 defending operators and then see, okay, do we need this operator or do we not? Not sure if it's a timeout here. Oh, it's not. Never mind. Come back.
We were just focused on the players, and a rare opportunity to hear W7m speak.
10 seconds remaining.
There it is. Casey onto
5
IQ.
seconds left
But the
before
funny thing is, we know there's not a whole lot of value to be gained here from the IQ. There's no Valkyrie, there's no Echo.
use a bomb.
I mean, you can find the goo mines, some more mine disc and stuff, but it's not like necessary, so to speak.
Good droning will find those things, right? There's no
Yeah,
real,
exactly, yeah.
there's nothing that's really going to be hidden. Maybe some Wamai discs could be hidden, but that's pretty much it. The Azami, the Kiba barriers, they're going to be immediately spotted. IQ doesn't deal with them anyway. The laser gates for Maruni and Diaz Lucas, also super easy to spot with your eyes. Maybe Fenrir's gadget could be something that, you know, you struggle to see. Same with Wamai's discs as they're scattered across, but that's about it.
Yeah. Very quick intro right now. Hurts. It looked like he might just go for it for a second there, but it's also not alone. He's got... Wait, what? Okay, he got spotted. Choso ran in regardless. The backup is on its way. Good drone work. I mean, these red pings are everywhere.
3 red pings off of that drone, by the way. Yaga, at the present moment, does not look retrievable by Piano. Might try to crawl to safety, but it looks like M80 have completely abandoned that part of the map. Maybe lure W7m into a trap, and with KZ dying to Gomez, speculation could be good in that regard.
Just a little prick.
I like this beginning of the round for M80. Still with 4 players. Legion is going to continue to generate goo mines. Kiba barriers were, I think they're finished now for Iconic.
Yeah.
Magnet's going to continue to generate for Gomez. So you got 3 operators who gain more value the longer they stay alive. And job done on that front. They all lived past the halfway round. Halfway mark of the round.
I mean, it was a good... Oh, okay. So Spoit swings out, no backup, throws away the man lead here for a moment. A little bit puzzling. And W7m, they seem like they want to change the pace here. They went for a very fast, early, aggressive push. Now they've slowed things down. But with the kill on Spoit, they think top 4 is clear, but Gomez stuck around. It's a 1-for-1 trade, making it an even 2v2 here. But like we said before, this heavily favors the defensive side, because attacking the bomb side of bar is difficult. You got a staircase, you got hatches. That's all you got to work with.
DMR almost taking the head off of Iconic.
User has been dropped.
He seeks safe shelter inside the bomb site. JV92, last one, and he dies. Iconic manages to get the kill. And we're 1 round away from a tie game. M80 will not die.
The attacks here from W7m today, they have been kind of rough. I mean, Clubhouse is similar. They won 1 in the first 6 rounds. On the first half, not a great start. So far, that was the 4th round. Sorry, the 3rd round rather. And they've only won a single one now. I don't know what's up with this. I mean, not a lot has changed in the meta, in the playstyles of like, I guess the one thing is like the nade change that might affect them. But besides that, long-term things are mostly the same. But their attacks are messy.
Watch for the fast entries off the dope call, bro, okay?
Ah, okay, so they're at the same thing. So as I said, like W7m went for a quick aggressive push, and now Iconic recognizes and say, just be ready for the quick aggressive entries of the Dokkaebi calls, because that's what they did. JV popped both calls in the first minute, and they sprinted through that building with drone work, of course, so those red pings come out. But now we see those micro adjustments being read out by the players in the server. Say, okay, expect this, boys. When the call goes out, the player will come running for you, seeking you, and trying to take you out. And you gotta be ready for them first. Don't answer the phone, guns up and ready. Basement bomb site. Now, Chalet pretty much force you to roam or extend out somewhere on the vast majority, if not on all the bomb sites. You can't just sit down, all 5 guys, bunker up. It's not gonna get you very far. So you gotta go and get proactive. And again, setup problems here. The mute jammers, although they are pretty simple, they will slow things down. They're forcing ADS check on the drone hole and nade to follow just to get the wall opened up. That's what mute can do for you. A high-value operator to slow things down and burn utility. 1 smoke, 1 nade off the board just to get the wall opened up. That's step number 1. Step 2 with W7m. They want to partially roam clear, get some map control, and then decide for a front or a backside execute. Right now, they're in that second phase of the roam clear, figuring out what exactly is going on. But we know there's a shield, there are players, and there are frost mats inside of library where your teammate has just been.
You can get yourself out of frost mats now, for those that haven't watched in a while, and that's exactly what you just saw happen as Nade vaults in, finds the bear mat, and immediately gets out. IQ brought yet again. You talked about how it wasn't going to have a lot of value in the previous round. Even less now, frankly. You've got a smoke who brought barbed wire, not going to work. Frost mats with the deployable shield brought by the frost, not going to work. Mute jammers, sure, but Azami, also not an operator that you need for that IQ. But because of the fact that you've got operators like Valkyrie on the board, you need to bring the IQ. I don't think it's a bad idea, but you can always 6-pick off of it. A bit curious this time that W7m opted not to do that. Maybe because IQ has nades, even though they're less valuable than they used to be.
She has nades.
Maybe it's because the Commando hits like a truck. It's a deceptively good gun.
Yeah, so good that they nerfed it recently, actually. That's how good it was. Things don't quite go the right way for M80's roaming game. It was relatively isolated members, far apart, and nobody found their way back to the side. So they're in a 3v5 position. Plenty of time to work with. Buck on the board, so vertical destruction can happen inside a fireplace now. The playable positions for defense will be more and more limited, and there they go. They're gonna fall on side. Iconic was first. DS, Lucas, or Yaga will be next.
W7m kind of lost the plot, but they're a team that you can never count out, and this is exactly why Yaga has 3 angry Brazilians staring him down, and Falapox credited with the kill. Series point for W7m.
And there it is. They turn up the heat, they turn up the speed, and just like that, they're on this side, looking at just 1 man stuck inside that blue corridor down in the basement. Yalk couldn't get it done, and to be honest, can't blame him. You're in a very tough position there with not the best tools for the job. No intel to work with either. The frost mat, just to go back to that point, you can pull yourself out of it, but you will be handicapped, should I say, for a full 60 seconds. You cannot sprint. Yeah,
I'll allow it, Counselor.
Thank you, man.
But watch yourself.
I'll be careful. Okay?
You're on very thin ice.
I'm on watch duty here, okay. You cannot sprint for so like 40 to 60 seconds, and you are leaving, I believe, blood trails where you are walking, almost like a revert or like a jackal effect, basically. But as an attack, you know, rarely you're gonna get chased by defenders, so it doesn't like matter that much. But yeah, you can't sprint for a while. That kind of sucks. You only get 20 health like usual. That kind of sucks. But at least you don't help us.
This is W7M's moment to shine.
10 seconds to go.
Hertz is locked in the IQ, and it doesn't look like he's six picking off of that, but look at what's on the left side of your screen. A Valkyrie is present.
Oh, and he goes off it. Like the one time.
All right.
The one time hurts.
I'll be honest. I give up.
I mean, this is the curse of having all the intel. Trying to analyze things is difficult because the players don't see what we see. So they're not like, oh, you know what? They're not going to have the IQ, or the Valkyrie this time, right? They didn't last 2 rounds. Well, they do now. Okay, congratulations. You played yourself. Ash, though, we've seen this operator go from most picked for a long time to never being picked to now more recently with the grenade nerf being picked more and more frequently. We saw DC play a couple rounds earlier today that we cast, and now Hertz also getting his turn. Same with Sophia from JV, because grenades can't be cooked any longer, so Sophia and Ash that works a bit more instantaneously, and like you don't have to like aim things and bounce it off walls, so like a direct impact thing. It's a bit easier and quicker to workers, just frankly put. The Terror Drone clearing out the frost mat and a bit of the floor, so just slowly dealing with these things ahead of time, so when they want to jump in, they no longer have to worry about it. Poor Spoit in the bathtub. It isn't even on. It ain't even comfy in there.
I will say this. M80 has given a real good effort. Should they lose either here or in overtime, I think the fact they brought in effectively a substitute in Yaga temporarily, who isn't really having the greatest Chalet, I still would be decently proud if I was M80. Still a long road to go through these groups, and I, for one, would be stunned if M80 went out in groups. I don't know if you agree.
I don't know. They've broken my heart so many times. You know, they came in looking so strong in you know, domestically in NAL. They had a great roster, and then they could group every single event. I would like for that to change, but this is also the hardest beginning to a tournament one could have. The reigning back-to-back major champions. I mean, it does not get any more difficult, and they're putting up good round numbers.
No, absolutely. Completely agree with it. We said it back in the very first map, and there's a lot of tools that M80 has at their disposal. I mean, oh my! And one of those players that can just take things over is none other than Spoit. W7m down to a single player, another flawless round, the 3rd flawless round by my count that we've seen in this series so far. Spoit, a big player in that. Still plenty of runway left for W7m to land this plane and bring it home.
Yeah, I mean, you got next round, then overtime, and if you need to, a 3rd map of skyscrapers. So, yeah, if these players want to and they need to, they're going to be here for like an hour and a half, possibly. Which is also a very long day for these players.
I do know that when you have later games, teams will deliberately stay up late and wake up late.
Kind of have to, right? I mean, good luck waking up at 6 a.m. and playing till 11. Yeah, not gonna happen.
Well, I remember there were times, if you remember those early DreamHack days.
Oh my God.
Where you'd play like 3 matches throughout the course of the day. You'd be waking up for your first match at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
Then you'd play a match at 3 p.m. and then you'd play a match at like 8 p.m. Yeah. That's a long day.
We used to say that DreamHack is what would shape like upcoming really good teams because you play a demon schedule against good teams, bad teams, and like BYOC teams, like bring your own computer stuff. You have no idea what you're going to be faced up with. And, you know, you learn a lot there. And it's super cold if you're in Sweden, for example. I remember we had some very cold nights when we played last time. For the, it was 2018, like December, November, or whatever.
I remember Fabian was so cold in Jönköping.
Yeah.
And he's from Sweden, he's from the north, he's used to the cold. That he had his jersey on, he had his G2 sweater on, and then I had to go get him another sweater that he put on over top of his sweater just to try to stay warm.
Yep. DreamHack. Bring me back, man. We need those back at some point. They're a good time, but Hertz is gonna bring this back for his team.
Whether DreamHacks come back or not, we were at the DreamHack winter for Jönköping a year and a half ago.
We were?
Remember?
Yes, we were.
This is where BDS won their very first championship. Yeah. Yes, indeed. BDS takes it.
I can't wait to see them play tomorrow at Invite. Oh, wait. Such a shame they're not here, man. Such a shame.
Some teams can't make it.
Ah, it's true.
I'm sure for NA fans, they're upset that OXG didn't make it.
But they got Foxley here, so like...
I guess that's true.
And Yaga
and formerly Laxing as well. So actually quite a lot.
Yeah, like 3 of the members, basically.
Sorry, Dream and Newers.
Oh,
Sorry you didn't make it.
Well, Meister's being played a lot. Dream is basically Maestro, reincarnated as a person because he lost that character. So he's also kind of here in spirit.
It would have been nice to have them here.
It would have been nice. Also, that's the second Frost mat over the span of 2 rounds that they've hit. Or 3.
I think it was 2 rounds ago.
Yeah, 2 rounds ago. There you see it.
Just constant noise coming in. Heavy panting. Lots of heavy panting. That's why you watch Rainbow Six Esports, right?
If you get stuck in a bear mat, I'll be making some noises too, Parker, let me tell you.
It's a funny little transition there. The Rotero drone driven over to the deployable shield right as the observer swapped over to the Grim, and it made it sound like the Rotero drone was full of bees. I don't know, that would be a terrifying thing. W7m cutting through M80, but M80 standing tall at the moment. JV92. Still moaning. He gets a pick. But, oh my goodness. It's happened.
It has happened.
It has happened. Nick, what do we have?
Overtime!
Overtime! A tie game. Long faces on W7m. You don't usually see W7m rattled.
You know, they're bothered because they're like, you're making us spend all this time and effort just to beat you 2-0 regardless. What are you doing? Save yourself and us the energy. But M80, they are an energy team, and like they might be technically losing, right? They lost the first map. Now they just came back 6-6, but they're still smiling. I will say their vibes are higher than usual given their position. They know they're doing well. And they need that because if they win Chalet, they got a full skyscraper to play. It's going to be a long night for them, like mentioned earlier.
It'll be a long night for them, and it'll be a long night for us. It'll be a long night potentially for those of you watching at home. I mean, if you're going to be the champs as long as they've been, you get used to adversity. You get used to being in these positions. I mean, you know that more than anybody.
I mean, everyone's gunning for you, but like you are the team that people want to beat. They want to look up to, they want to look at your strats, etc. They want to overanalyze you to death. And I know that there are some question marks as well, like, okay, W7m had like a phenomenal year, either winning or making the finals at the very least. Will they get complacent? Will they run out of steam? Because when you're living that kind of lifestyle where you're doing so well, it doesn't just come because you wake up in the morning like everybody else. No, you put in hours and hours of work and preparation every single event time and time again. And if you keep doing that and at a bad pace, you will burn yourself out eventually. So I know that some people look at this and go, oh my god, M80 took them to overtime on 2 maps. If they were to lose here, like, that must be W7m getting complacent. Well, it could be. We don't truly know yet. But time will tell. But it has been a very long year for a team who has been to every single final.
There's no team that has played at such a high level throughout the last year and a half that have played as many matches as W7m. And more importantly, have played matches against the best teams. Because it's not just that you're playing more maps. It's not just that you're playing more games. It's that by going to the finals, you are literally doing all of this against the best of the best.
Yeah.
You're not beating up a bunch of nobodies here. You're not on Fraud Watch. You're playing literal world champions. You're playing literal major champions. KZ did not expect Gomez to be so quick to get up those Stellarium stairs. Felipox now closing in. No! Felipox! How do you miss that? He doesn't see Gomez perched on top watching over those stairs. Things have gone from bad to worse for W7m.
Even iconic partner. Oh my god, Pox. Yeah, that was not pretty. And the thing is, this one you live in, sometimes it'll help you, and sometimes it'll do you dirty, like in that scenario. It is a tough weapon to use.
Beautiful shot by Nate. Hold on.
Nate, no.
This is far from over.
Not like this.
They can make it work. And now it's just Yaga. JV92 damage, but they know he's inside a piano. Nade has pulled a rabbit out of his hat. There's still a minute left. Standoff for the ages. Drone work can be done by Yaga to gain information. That pushes Nade out of his spot. He won't be able to sit pretty on the bottom of those library stairs. Now, Yaga only has breaches. No hard destruction available. That means that the hatch leading down to the bomb site will stay fully closed. Yaga then will have to go for relatively straight execute. But he has no information after his drone got shot away. He'll be obscured for a second as that Dread Mine goes off, and Nade sees him. Still there. Well played by Nade. His final 30 seconds of Nade's life in that round were a masterclass in how to play in a disadvantage, and W7m now goes back to series point.
Heartbreaker of a round. It's one of those classic, oh, we got the round, we're gonna get that series round, we're gonna go all the way or win it, and then you just somehow, some way, it just falls apart. People are taking what looks like a decent gunfight, but it's truly 50-50. Two of those 50-50s, well, they go the same way of Nade, and therefore they equalize the numbers. And then this, they pinged the barbed wire, trying to yellow ping the player, but it was enough. It gave him the whereabouts, the kind of where he was going to be proning at. And it was so intense. I mean, you see Yogg there, it's like, he can't do anything about it. He was holding an angle, walked into a really frustratingly positioned Fenrir mine, and all of a sudden gets nearsighted. What do? Either you look for it or you prone. And he went for the prone play. It just did not work out. Another old-time timeout, by the way. Back to back here.
It's a good time to take it for W7m. They saved it for when they're now going to use it, likely to come up with a strategy.
Same as last time, right?
Be locked in. Yep.
Like they called timeouts back to back on match point in overtime.
It's almost like they know this.
And both times they were on the attack as well. Because last time they played defense in overtime, didn't call it. Then they're gonna go to attack, then they called it. And again, I do believe that, like, theoretically speaking, that's the right choice because attacking gets more value out of talking about things, especially to close out series. And by doing it now, you can, of course, talk about the upcoming round after this one if you were to lose. It's like a win-win.
M80 still seemed like they were in good spirits as well, despite the circumstances they find themselves in not being particularly good. IQ locked in, so we are ready to roll with an operator that I think you and I have rightly called suboptimal in a couple different instances so far here on Chalet.
I am very curious about the Trooper Bandit on a kitchen bomb site of all places. I'm trying to stitch it together. I mean, I'm gonna assume it's like the office wall deny above, because when you play kitchen, you're trying to hold top floor control. But this is very new stuff. Oh yeah, there it is. So yeah, Bandit will trick the office wall. It's quad reinforced. Yeah, so this is gonna be top floor hold.
Ready to go.
Yeah, interesting. So this is a new one. We haven't seen this one before. At least I haven't. No EMPs in play. So Hertz on Ash might need to go below, break the soft floor open or something like that from Fireplace. But there's a mirror window. That's gonna get shattered with the new change to Ash charge and Kali lenses. Very good job. Second Ash breach gotta go in the ceiling now. Otherwise, I don't know how they're gonna break this apart.
A quick look over from Nade towards the screen of Felipox. Gain information. He's obviously not gonna be tilting it over, but Nade keeps looking in that position. One of those sand cams shot out. It looks like a second will turn two.
There it is.
I don't know if Yogg is going to be able to get this done. No, he won't. Instead, he's holding towards the window, peels off at the last second.
No tuber being used. I mean, they used one of them, but they had two more in pocket. I feel like they could have committed harder to deny that wall if they wanted to, but they didn't opt for it. It's surprising. Their entire strat seems to be built around this, so not doing so is a surprise to me. They lost the mirror window, they lost the breach upstairs, their win conditions are kind of dwindling here. Okay.
KZ will just pick away at that angle. The EMP going off also means that you lose your reticle on the site housing, which can be particularly bad. Look at that. Herds creeps in and they don't know it. Beautiful to shoot the C4 out of the air, and there's the Tumaru gone as well. Herds good enough for two. Spoit overplaying his hand in that position. W7m 2 kills away from their first victory here on home soil.
So smart. The guy covering shoots C4, so they have no idea that, you know, Hertz walked in like that. It's phenomenal teamwork, again, for W7m.
Gomez taking some damage to the soft wall, finished off by KZ! And just like that, it's over. W7m, as you pointed out, you're making us work just for you to lose in overtime. I don't really get it. But W7m prevailed despite M80 taking them to the brink in both maps 1 and 2. There will be no skyscraper. There will be no third map.
That's what it feels like, right? It's like when they want to win and just end it, they do just that both times in a row. It really is a matter of like, okay, I guess we need to step up now and really finish you guys, and I will do it. Because out of nowhere, they flip a switch.
They're a team that is just so hard to put down. Even when you think you've got them on the ropes, they just bounce back. That's it. And there really is nothing from that first matchup we just witnessed to believe that W7m have lost even the smallest step. There's still a lot of group stage games to go, and then of course you got to get out of the groups and continue to trudge forward. So maybe another team will expose a weakness from W7m that we haven't quite seen yet. But at this present moment, M80 brought the heat, but it's W7m who proved to be a bit resistant.
Also, like, statistically speaking, losing like twice in overtime, if you're M80, who usually goes in groups against the reigning major champions, that's a great way to lose, so to speak. I mean, it's not going to get much better than that, and M80 with Yaw coming in, it did look pretty positive for the first game.
Yeah, I mean, some team had to ultimately fight against W7m in the very first match of this event. M80 obviously were the team that ended up in that circumstances, but they gave it a really good effort, and I honestly think that despite the loss, they can be happy with that one. They pushed the champs to the brink of 2 separate maps. Now, yeah, obviously, M80 would have liked to have won one of the maps, but didn't end up coming to pass. That's it for you and I casting. That's it for our matches today, but the desk is going to want to talk about what we just witnessed, so let's not stop them.
That we are. That we are indeed. It's time to break this one down because this was a heated match, to say the very least. Philippox, welcome in.
Thank you.
A very intense game there.
Yeah, it was a difficult game. My aim was not that good. I think you guys saw in the last round, I think one of the last rounds. But I think it was a good match. They surprised us a little in some things. The things we studied, like it was different, and they were playing good Siege. But I think we kept it calm. Like the experience helped us, and we could close the game.
I mean, for me, just run me through Clubhouse. Like, what was going through your guys' head in the beginning of that map before the side swap? Because you guys went down 5-1 or 1-5. Like, what was going through your guys' head? Like, what were the comms like? Like, let everyone know, like, what you guys were doing to figure out what you needed to do? Or was it just as simple as, like, you just knew what you needed to get done?
Yeah, we knew that in the attacks we were playing very good. Like, not very good because we lost, but like we were playing good, and we were throwing some rounds. So we kept it calm. Like we said, like, guys, we are playing well. Like let's not lose our heads. And we know the defense was good too because of the bans. It was very strong defense. So we could come back and then close in the overtime.
Well, look, we expected you to obviously take this result. This was a best of 3 that we expected to go W7m's way. Not to frame it in a negative light, but did you expect it to be so menacing? Did you expect it to be this difficult?
Actually, yes. It's always a good game against them. Last time we lost against them, so we knew that was going to be difficult. So yeah, we expected.
What makes it difficult about versing M80? Is it in the server? Is it their constant yapper? What is it that makes it so difficult?
I think they have good players, like individually. All players are good mechanically and individually, so that's difficult. And they have a good staff. They always counter us in some stuff and always surprise us also in their peak or in their strats. So I think that was what makes it difficult to play against them.
I have a question. In terms of, obviously, you guys won the past 2 majors pretty convincingly and everything else. What was the prep coming into SI? Did you change anything from Atlanta, or has everything pretty much just stayed the same? You guys are just, just give me the rundown of that.
Yeah, we try to change as much as possible because we know that everyone's studying us, everyone's copying us. So we scream and we see like that's our play, and that's very common. So we know that we have to change a lot of things. And we try to change as much as possible. And I think the meta changed a lot from last major already. So I think that helped us to already change a little bit of our play style and plays in some maps and how to play. So I think we are bringing new stuff to this SI.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's incredible. Look, we don't want to hold you for too much longer. We know that you and your team need to go and prepare for tomorrow and the next couple of days. Is there anything you'd like to say to the fans out there before we let you go?
Thank you very much for everyone who supports us. Hopefully we're going to win SI and make history. We are doing our work to do that, as we always do. And now in Portuguese, to the Brazilian fans. Obrigado a todo mundo aí que sempre está acompanhando. A gente está trabalhando muito aí para conseguir trazer esse Invitational. E é isso. Gol W7m aí e é nóis.
Well, you're a true gentleman. Thank you very much for joining us and congratulations on the victory.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, now we look ahead because this one was, a very, very intense match. I think that he's kind of summed it up perfectly there. They obviously came in expecting a fight.
Yeah.
Even then, I mean, to the limits.
Yeah, literally to the limits. I mean, it almost went possibly to the third map. I mean, M80, props to them. Like, they came in here swinging, and that's what I wanted to see. I mean, I didn't want to see them flop over. I didn't want to see the performances that we saw in Atlanta and Copenhagen, and M80 has a lot to take from this. It's still fresh into the tournament, and to start out that strong against a team as W7m, I mean, there's a lot to take from that and to be proud of.
Dude, M80 were shooting back. I mean,
Absolutely.
they were mechanically right there with W7m, winning a lot of those gunfights. I think the problems came sometimes on attack, really slowing down sometimes. I think sometimes on defense as well. In that second half on Chalet, there were moments where W7m just saved a round that really they should have been closing out.
That's 2v4.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Let's not even talk about that. It'll come up soon enough.
Yeah, no, 100%.
There are so many little moments in this series that have had they gone the other way, we'd be seeing a map 3 right now. And that's insane to say against W7m.
Yeah, I think that it's certainly, it's maybe does it put M80 on the map a little bit more than what we kind of came into this with? Do we have different expectations now?
I mean, I would like to believe that if they can stay in this form and just keep improving with each match, that we could possibly see this team pushing it to main stage. But if this was the teams that we were seeing, like I said, back in Copenhagen and Atlanta, I don't want to harp on that, but given the talent of this roster, they should be a main stage team. And I think if they keep performing this way and only improving, we will see them on main stage.
Yeah, I mean, let's put it this way, right? This is a very competitive group. Most people are saying this is the toughest group, and a lot of people going through predictions had probably M80 or Bleed at the bottom. I think that conversation looks a lot tougher for Bleed now because I think M80 have shown up and they've said, listen, we're very close to those other top teams in our group. They're going to be competing with Liquid, with Virtus Pro. They're going to be fighting for those spots in this group, I believe. So I'm very excited to see how the rest of this turns out. It's going to be hype, but of course, we'll just have to see how they do on their next game days.
And really, probably one thing I do want to characterize a little bit is for W7m. Does this start them off on the right foot, or do you think that there were enough speed bumps?
I think that this is a great way to start, to be challenged off the bat, not to get an easy breezy game going, so that way you aren't slouched over for the next game, or you aren't taking things for granted, that you were really put to your limit today. And they came out on top. They were in a deficit of that 1-5 and immediately bounced back, went into the next map, went up in lead. M80 did start to claw back, but then they ended up closing it out in a lot of those clutch rounds, like you said. So to still keep that mentality and keep up that ferocity that they were showing in these games, I think that's so important to start out the series that way.
Well, to put a little bit of a ribbon on that one, let's go ahead and have a look at the results of the day, and recapping, of course, what was a pretty decent 2-0 victory for W7m. Again, very close, but this is how it all played out. A couple of 2-0s throughout today. Is there any game in particular that you're surprised by, Jesse? Is there anything that catches your eye and maybe,
I got one.
Ask a question?
Go for it. I'll definitely say the Space Station Wolves. I originally had Space Station winning that, closing that out, and given how that game did, I did watch a little bit of it that I could.
Yep.
It was definitely, it looked like Space Station, and then Wolves just instantly turned it on its head. Deadshot, I believe, had really good performance overall. Mowgli as well was really popping off there. But again, we've talked about this before, is like, for Wolves, they can't just rely on Mowgli. They can't rely on Deadshot. That needs to be a team effort going forward. So the fact that they did push through, that's amazing. But I was surprised at the end result because of SSG overall, what they said that they were changing coming into this, and to see how that panned out. That was the most shocking for me.
Jesse?
Yeah. And I'll say quickly, I think the DZ-GK game that was on this stream earlier today was surprising. Dark Zero obviously did end up with the win, and I think they were expected to win that one. But GK fighting back, we've talked about the strength of the MENA region throughout this entire year, and I really do think that they're going to show up and get some big games over some of these more established teams. So I'm looking forward to that.
All right, well, let's go ahead and have a look at how the groups have panned out now that we've finished these matches. Now, the way we're not going to see the points, we're just going to see where they sit in the standings currently. So, look, day one, I don't know how much you want to take out of this. I guess, kind of from my eyes, Group B is actually kind of panning out in my head the way I thought it would a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, it's just good to recap and have a look at where these teams are sitting. Anyone have a slow start that really you'd hope better from?
I will say Sonics. I thought that maybe that game would have been more one-sided in my personal opinion. I was putting a lot of hopes and prayers into Sonics, but that game, they did get tested. And even for Ambi to be coming in, like he had a wonderful performance. I believe he was the MVP.
Yep.
So I still think that's a great feat in its own, that you're picking up someone brand new, has no LAN experience, and then coming to SI and performing and being an MVP in the first game in an international competition. That's huge for it. That's a huge boost of morale.
Certainly, and I think another team that maybe started slower than we wanted to was probably D+. Not only were they slow in terms of not getting a lot of round counts in their opening match against FaZe Clan, they're also just very slow in the server. A lot of those pushes took a very long time to come to fruition. So I'm hoping we see them speed up both in the server and when it comes to getting rounds, getting that momentum here at SI, because at the end of the day, it's not that long of a group stage. You've only got 4 games to play. You need to make sure that they count.
Well, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's have a look at the play of the game from the W7m matchup. Honestly, there were a couple that spring to mind. I guess that's one way of doing it.
Nade, yeah.
Yeah.
The very first round here on Chalet coming through, 3 massive kills in sight. That was right after Herd's got a 2K up on the roam. Sets him up into a great position to just be that anchor. We talk about JV92 often as the anchor player on W7m, but Nade can do it just as well when he needs to, and we saw that in that clip.
No, I mean, Nade had multiple clutches this round. I believe it was round 10?
Round 13.
Round 13, okay. Yeah. Round 13. I mean, that 4v2. I mean, Nade impressively got those 2 kills, got back down, then got another kill, and then it came down to that 1v1 with Yaga. Yep. And, I mean, I didn't think Nade was going to play that aggressive, but he heard that Fenrir go off and immediately challenged that and won that out, being practically on 1 HP.
It's pretty gnarly sometimes, okay? Sometimes it just works in your favor. Sometimes it doesn't.
Sometimes you got to be the aggressor when you're on defense.
Look, sometimes you just got to be that guy. Sometimes you're not.
Nade was that guy.
So yeah, Nade was today. But let's go ahead and have a look at tomorrow, because these are the matches that we've got coming your way. B stream, of course, being covered on Rainbow Six Bravo. But the A stream, that is where we're going to remain for tomorrow. We start off with FaZe and Space Station Gaming. We get to see a couple of debuts tomorrow from teams like Bliss, from Fury, Falcons. There are a lot of names that get to kickstart. Well, shouldn't Fury play today? No. Falcons did, though.
Right.
Yes, that's right. That's where I got confused. It's Fury and Bliss that they get their debuts here at SI, all apart from I9, I think, on Fury, which is kind of crazy.
I mean, it's a rematch to start out Stream A with FaZe versus Space Station, given Atlanta. So that'll be up for a burner, because last time I talked to Space Station during that game, they said that they were prepared, they know what they wanted to do, and that's not exactly how they wanted it to go or how it should have went.
And then the rematch to continue on A stream, because right after that is Bliss Wolves.
Yes.
Which, that was obviously a huge series in Atlanta. The Group B obviously filled with rematches from that very similar group we had in Atlanta. So a lot of fun games there.
It certainly will be. Now, we are getting to the end of it. We're about to wrap up, close up shop. Final thoughts?
Today, I mean, it's SI. And like I said, being a player before and coming here as a player every single time and now being talent, it's so cool to be on this side of the field and really just watch these games and see how intense they are. I mean, I still feel the pressure. I still feel as intense as if I was a player, but it's just so exciting to be at SI, to be here, to see all these teams fighting for that world championship title and to see who comes out on top.
Absolutely. I mean, we've just gotten started here in Sao Paulo. We've got so many more days to go, so I'm very, very excited to see what the rest of this tournament brings out. Sao Paulo's been amazing so far. And I also just want to say, I mean, first time working a LAN event with you, Manic, your first SI. It's been a blast. Really enjoyed working the desk with you so far today.
Mate, it's been an absolute pleasure with both of you.
I'll say the same thing, I guess.
It's been a dream team, It's easy to look at both of you, I guess I could say. It's not too bad.
We're all sharp. We all compliment each other.
I think it was Barbenheimer we got a couple of
Barbie and...
Yeah, Barbie Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
We
got that flow going. You just got to figure out what's your flow.
Yeah, I don't really have a flow. I don't need to worry about
that good-looking guy over there.
Always looking good.
Good-looking host.
Nah, we'll keep it at just that Manic guy that just joined because no one else was available. It is time for us to close up shop. Thank you very much for joining us today. We hope that you've enjoyed day one. We're only kickstarting SI, so you might want to clear your schedule. We'll be back tomorrow, 10 a.m. Brazilian time. Until then, please take care, stay safe, and good night.